Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Next Gen Racing TV and Crest Autosport TV to the Next Gen Racing MX-5 Cup. My name is Alex Everett, and alongside me, Paul Walsh, delivering to you tonight the MX-5 Cup, second half of the season starting tonight, and we're here at the Silverstone National Circuit. Silverstone in Towcester, Northamptonshire, England, United Kingdom. We're about 70 miles northwest of London, at the crown jewel of British motorsport, the biggest racing facility in the United Kingdom. And of course, we know it for hosting the British Grand Prix every July, which is coming up in less than a month's time. Very excited indeed for that. The home of British motorsport has hosted the Formula One Grand Prix for 60 years. 60 times actually, should I say, and has hosted Formula One ever since the 1950s. 1950 hosting the very first Formula One Grand Prix, so its staple in motorsport history and heritage is absolute most. So tonight we're back with the MX-5 Cup. As I mentioned, I'm Alex Evan, alongside me Paul Walsh, who got to say thanks first of all for Paul Walsh for covering for me in the last two events, and I'm sure it's likewise the other way around for round three. But the dream team is back together, Paul. How are you feeling about that before we get into the racing?
Oh, I'm absolutely excited, Alex. I must admit, it's been lonely in the commentary booth, particularly at Spa last time out in round number 5. But we're back together, and what a round to resume our partnership here in the fact that we do have the legendary Silverstone circuit. And whilst it may only be the national layout, we do have some infamous corners and a good number of straights. And that fight in action is only going to come thick and fast, given the fact that we have seen plenty of battle in action all the way up to the final lap after 2 hours last time at Spa.
Absolutely. We'll talk about the last couple of rounds in a sec, but let's just draw on the circuit here. People who might not be familiar with British motorsport actually might be wondering, well, why are we racing on this shorter layout of Silverstone? Why not the full layout? Well, we are in very small cars, being the MX-5s, so shorter circuits traditionally do suit the MX-5s, but also the Silverstone National Circuit is iconic in hosting some legendary races over the years in many, many series. I can only remember back to the early 90s when John Cleland and Steve Soper came together at the Brooklands corner, but they were racing on this layout of the track. But it is such a small track, only 2.6 kilometers in length, not many corners, not many braking zones, but because of how wide the track is, how simple it is, it just provides close racing all the time. I mean, Paul, you're quite the fan of British motorsport like myself. Other than the moment I mentioned, is there any sort of races that pop into your mind when you think about this circuit?
Well, not necessarily the national variant per se, but I must always harken back to one of perhaps the finest drives in Formula One motorsport around the Silverstone circuit, with Lewis Hamilton's dominance in the rain, whereby he won by such a convincing margin in the end, and the only driver he did not lap in that day, and I think that was all the way back, if I remember correctly, in either 2007 or 2008, it was second place. But I do remember that very fondly in the mind when I think of Silverstone. That's my number one British motorsport moment.
Absolutely, and the track has been renovated over the years plenty of times, and we see quite a lot of this layout we're driving here in the full Formula One Grand Prix layout of the circuit. But let's move on from talking about the track and let's talk about the here and now in the championship. That is the MX-5 Cup. We are at the halfway point of the season, and the season rather looks like this as it means to go on. We started off all them weeks ago, over a month ago, at the Red Bull Ring Grand Prix circuit in the Styrian Mountains of Austria. And then we ventured to the north in the UK for the Knocker Hill International Circuit for round 2 of the championship. South of London, much more south than we are right now, to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit for round 3 of the championship. Round 4 hosted at Alton Park, the international no chicanes layout, and what a brilliant round that was indeed. I had to catch up on that and it was breathtaking. And then it was the 2-hour endurance 2 weeks ago from now at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit in East Belgium. Here in the second half of the season, round 6 here at Silverstone National Circuit. Next week we'll venture off to Snetterton, and whereas last season, we raced at the Snetterton 300 layout, we are going to race at the 200 layout, which is the what I call the outer loop of Snetterton, the much simpler layout, which partially was used by the British touring cars many, many years ago. Round 8 of the championship will venture over the pond to the United States, and we'll start off in the New York State, where we'll race at the Watkins Glen Cup Circuit, which I believe is the shorter layout without the bus stop chicane. And I've raced on that circuit and that layout many times, and that should feature some very exciting racing, rather like what it will today. A very simple layout, but close racing and fast racing indeed. Round 9 of the championship, something different. We're going to be going oval racing with these MX-5s. It remains to be seen how that will go down, but plenty of bump drafting on the Daytona Super Speedway on the 4th of July. Rather appropriate that we're in America on that day, but round 9 of the championship is going to be an excellent one and a unique one indeed. And then the final race of the season, it's all serious again as we venture to France, the Le Mans circuit, one of my favourite circuits of all time. Of course, we've just seen the 24 Hours of Le Mans hosted over the weekend. It'll be our own version of an endurance there, a 2-hour endurance to finalise the season here of the MX-5 Cup. Just a 12-round calendar to see us this season, and there's plenty coming up in next-gen racing over the next few months, including a potential touring car league here on iRacing. Maybe the MX-5's coming back on Mondays, and we also have something in the pipeline on Wednesdays to feature after the Proto GT3 Cup, which is still ongoing on Wednesdays, but plenty of leagues here at Next Gen Racing to get involved with. Right, moving on. The championship standings as we head towards this current round of the season. We're over the halfway point. No drop rounds have been implemented yet, but we'll take a look at the championship standings as we come into tonight's round. Liam McNeilly leads at the top of the standings in the Pro category. Of course, he's been dominant all season, but he's being kept happy by fellow drivers and fellow teammates of Fordzilla. Of course, William Chadwick close behind, 46 points behind, but only 97 points behind his defending champion, Mikey Doble. Let's bear in mind, Mikey Doble has missed a round in this championship, so the loss in points for Liam and William Chadwick will, of course, catch Mikey Doble up to the top spot. He's looking for his 4th championship on the trot here at Next Gen on Mondays. So this is this is the part of the season where Mikey Doble is really going to get his head down. 4th in the championship, Chris Staines is doing very well on Wednesday night. He's doing very well on Monday night as well. 4th in the championship, heading into tonight on 266 points. Dan Skinner, who didn't start the season all that well, despite a win in Red Bull, he was quite quiet at the start of the season, but he's really found form of late, particularly at Spa-Francorchamps, getting a good result there, and he puts himself 5th in the championship. Our league host, Jamie Dory of Next Gen Racing, is 6th in the championship on 245 points, followed closely behind by 2 HSR drivers in Aidan Wilson and John Higgins Jr. Adam Delmont, who has had, he would regard a below par season so far, but plenty of rounds left for him to find his feet, but 9th in the championship for him. Wayne Douglas sits in 10th position, 11th to Rob McGregor, 12th, Nick Clibbins, 13th, Danny James, James Warrior in 14th, and Marcello Pagnan, who only competed at Red Bull Ring on 3 points at the bottom of the table there. And now Paul Walsh is going to show you through the AM category standings.
Well, thank you, Alex. And as we look at the AM standings, it is the case that we can see Sam Smith, our leader, going into this round for Simtech Excite Racer of 354 points. And he does have a considerable margin now over his contemporaries, 75 points clear of Lee Horne, the Next Gen Racing Team Orange driver. And Lee Horne, having had a few results not go his way, and continue to try and close down Sam Smith as we transition over to qualifying and continue to cover these championship standings. Alan McCain, one to watch out for as well. He's continued to build up that momentum, currently P3 now, the McCain, Lively and Clark Racing drive on 266 points, but he has also got to keep in mind that Nigel Stock is hot at his toes there, only 14 points behind on 252, the Crest Autosport with Apex Tracks driver, and indeed right now we do seem to have what is a 4-way battle for the championship. Paul Scott, however, do not count him out. Right now, he seems to be the best of the rest for Next Gen Racing Team Blue on 211 points. Only 3 clear of Joncarlo Schooler, and the Team Sim Racing driver there continue to build up that momentum. Bob Dobson in at P7 for Death Sim Racing on 185 points. Only 3 clear of Jamie Nicholson. These two haven't had quite the rivalry so far, and long may it continue with Geoff Purkiss and then John Higgins Sr. completing the top 10. And then outside the top 10, but to be watched out for in particular, Michael Lees, one driver who had a disastrous day at Spa, showing perhaps the best pace of any AM driver, and it all ended in the tyre barrier at Raidillon Corner. It was a heartbreaking moment, I do recall it fondly, but right now Michael Lees, the one driver who is looking to to bounce back tonight and get as many points on the board as possible. Keep your eyes out for him. Ollie Peters as well had quite a bit of misfortune, and we'll be looking at to try and right the wrongs of old, with William Foal not too far behind in P13 on 135 points. We then do have a sizable 24-point gap to Matt Evans in P14, but building momentum there ahead of James Clark. And it's Mark Anthony McLaughlin, Thomas Delaney and Matthew Addy who complete your AM Championship standings. Back to you, Alex.
The team's championship standings heading into tonight. Well, we just refresh our overlay. It's messing up a little bit here. Doesn't like this track, our overlays. Doesn't, but let's get back onto the team standings. And at the top, rather unsurprisingly, it's the Fordzilla team. They're one of the big esports teams, and then their drivers Liam McNeilly, William Chadwick, top of the pro category standings. Is hardly surprising to see them at the top on 1,560 points, 110 points clear of NXTGEN Racing Team Orange in second place there. In their host series, they're looking to get closer to the guys at the front in Fordzilla. Let's see how they get on in this second part of the season. A tie for third place between Crest Autosport with Apex Check's team and NXTGEN Racing Team Blue. Further down, tied for fifth place is Mikey Doble Racing with Douglas Racing and Simtech Excite on 1,234 points. HSR in 7th and 8th, both variations of the team there. 9th to SVP Motorsport with Excite and GCR Racing. McCain, Lively and Clark Racing on 1,000 points in 10th to round off the top 10 in the points standings. Right, okay, so that is the standings over and done with. We can now check on how things are going in qualifying here at Silverstone National. Drivers already on the track. We're already 3 minutes into the session, already some times on the board. And straight away going to say one of the traits of this track, Paul, here is it is Draft City. I mean, we are going to be visiting other tracks that are going to be similar, such as Watkins Glen, Le Mans, of course, Daytona, the Oval, of course. We saw it earlier in the season at Red Bull Ring, where draft was so important. But here, it is almost like a bump draft kind of circuit where your momentum just depends on how well you get out the corners and how close you are to the car in front.
Oh, most definitely, Alex. And when I had the opportunity to interview a number of our drivers following the round at Spa, and I asked their thoughts regarding Silverstone National, many of them said it is going to be a full throttle bonanza in the fact that they will be on full throttle for practically 75% a lap. And there are a couple of heavy braking zones, as we see our drivers now making their way up into Maggots here and coming heavy on the brakes. But they'll want to be in the draft throughout the majority of the lap to get that best possible lap time. And will be one of those situations where it's about feeling that comfort, being close to the driver in front, being tucked right in behind, and having to know when you need to lift off perhaps 10, 15, 20 meters earlier going into that heavy braking zone to avoid making the contact. But of course, in backing off, you leave that gap open between yourself and the driver in front, and then you've got to try and close it back up, and you hope the draft's going to do that. But of course, whilst you're running in the draft, you want to get ahead at that all-important time. And we did see that a number of times at Spa-Francorchamps down the Kemmel Straight, whereby drivers battling in the draft then decided when to try and take the lead position, when we saw drivers being quite hesitant to battle versus those who went all in, and we're going to see plenty more of that tonight, I feel.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, it's a very short lap, but we'll do a tour of Silverstone. Paul Walsh will show you through the circuit now, on board with our championship leader Liam McNeilly.
So as Liam takes us around at Woodcote Corner to complete the lap, he goes across the timing line and on to another. Turn 1 is Copse Corner here, and as you'll see, coming into the corner at 170 miles an hour, dabbing the brake, then chucking the car in, dropping down to third gear, and coming out beyond the apex at 96 mile an hour before building up the speed once again in the run down towards Maggots. Now normally the circuit would flow left, right, but it's going to be left, right, and heavy braking as he comes through to it into turn 3, into the Maggots bend here, and rolling on through turn 3, using that apex curve and the runoff strip on the left hand side before accelerating out of entry and down the Wellington straight, charging all the way down now the back straight, and as you can see here, so close to his teammate, almost tapping him as they get ready to go into Brooklands Corner, braking at that 50 metre board and coming all the way down the gearbox to second gear. Nice tight apex here. You want to get the car all the way over to the right side and keep it nice and hooked onto that apex for where's Luffield Corner at turn number 5, and now in first gear will build up into second as soon as he's about to hit that rev limiter and charges flat out through Woodcote Corner. Turn number 6 here as he arcs his way round to complete the lap and cut in as much as he dares, but he has to keep 2 wheels beyond the white line on what is the left hand side of the road in order to be able to qualify that lap, and he comes across there P2 in the pro class and overall 1.5 tenths of Adam Delmont's pole lap currently.
Yeah, Adam Delmont, you know what? As I said earlier, he was considered as a below par season for himself. But you know what? Back in this second half of the season, and he's really stamping his authority in qualifying here. But qualifying is one thing, Paul. The racing is another, and he's just not had the luck this season, has he?
Oh, indeed, it is that case, as we see Adam Delmont here once again on fire. And this seems to be a recurring theme with Adam Delmont, as you're alluding to, Alex, the fact that he has so much pace at his fingertips, but for some reason, and it's not necessarily his own fault, in the races, it just does not go his way. And I think he's got to really try to put behind him what's happened in the first half of the season, because we know the results are going to come. It's just the case that he needs to have one of those evenings where it may be the case he has to sacrifice a win, but in return, if he can pick up a trio of podiums, it will do him so well. And right now, as he rolls his way through, nobody yet has been able to touch him, although Mikey Doble there in the draft has been able to go up to provisional P2, 1.5 tenths still off, as now William Chadwick does close the delta down to just over half a tenth.
Absolutely a good time on the board there for William Chadwick. He slotted in behind Liam McNeilly, as we saw of our tour guide lap on the previous lap, and the draft there has certainly helped him get higher up in the standings. He's just over a tenth behind Adam Delmont, and on a circuit like this, a tenth here, it could be more like a second on other circuits. It's just such fine margins on this track, and we're going to see some very close action on this track, in particular here in qualifying. Just referring to the AM category now, in the DeWalt livery there, Jamie Nicholson has put himself to the top of the AM category in qualifying, but overall 6th place, so that's well clear of his rivals, and very good to get himself into the second half of the season here, Paul, where all the points you can get in this part of the season really do matter.
Oh, indeed. And Jamie Nicholson right now in that P6, he'll be aware of the fact that some of the other AM drivers will gradually start to close up. It may be the case if we see Chris Danes there going P5 and Chadwick and Delmont swapping places at the top of the time and tower standings. So Nicholson right now, I think, focusing on trying to give himself some distance to the rest of the AM field, getting a couple of pros between himself and the rest of the field. And what that gives him is a bit of a buffer zone to play with. And as you say, Alex, given the fact now we're in that second half of the season, that pressure starts to build in you as a driver, no matter where you are in the championship. You know now that the races that lie ahead and the results that lie ahead, you can no longer sacrifice. So you sort of, in a way, it's almost as if you've had a wake-up call. Somebody said, smell the coffee in the morning, because it is now the case that those points have really started to matter. And any bad rounds you've had, you're now going to start feeling them.
Yes, absolutely. This is the point in the season where drivers really don't want retirements to repeat. If they have been persistent in the first half of the season, this is the part where drivers will really want to get the hammer down. We've got some very fast tracks coming up over the next couple of races. This one in particular is very quick indeed. Next time out we're at Snetterton 200, where like this track we're going to be on the throttle, full throttle, for over 75% of the lap, and it's a very tricky circuit with its dips and curves and trail braking and that sort of thing. It's going to be very tricky next time out at Snetterton. And let's not forget we're at Watkins Glen as well. In these cars, it's a very quick track, particularly the simplified cup layout we're going to be driving on. Then there's Daytona, which is a full oval, which means 100% the whole time. And then Le Mans, which features the Mulsanne Straight. So the pace of these, the point I'm trying to make is the pace of these races, it does build the pressure, particularly when it's higher pace. And it means the margins are so fine between these drivers. One little mistake can cost you not just positions, plenty of points as well in the championship. But as we...
Oh, indeed.
Go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say indeed, and as they make their way around, we look at Mikey Doble right now. It's the case that really it's a season of two halves. Excuse the pun, it's an old football terminology. It's a game of two halves, but it's true in the fact the first half of the season we had a lot of circuits whereby there were heavy braking zones and there was more of an emphasis on the driver's lap and their overall pace. Whereas now we really are in a situation whereby on a lot of these circuits, even if you're half a second faster, the driver behind you just needs to be in your toe, and that half a second is worth diddly squat in the race.
Absolutely, yeah, that's absolutely right. Hit the nail on the head there. We're going to see some drivers really come alive on this part of the championship, because there might be some drivers who prefer these tracks that are more difficult in the sense that there's less margin for error. But there might have been drivers who really suited the first half of the season where it was just filled with corners, particularly Red Bull Ring, or admittedly only has 10 corners, but many more corners than here at Silverstone and next time out at Snetterton. But let's move on to this final part of the session. We're in the final third of this qualifying session. This sets the grid for race 1. of the night, which will be a 15-minute sprint race. And then it will follow with another 15-minute sprint race where the grid will be formed by the results of race 1, but the top 15 finishers overall in that race will be reversed. So the driver who finishes 15th in race 1 will start on pole for race 2. And then the results of race 2 will decide the grid for race 3, except it will be a full reverse grid of those who finish the race. So a full reverse grid here today, Paul, is going to be a little bit different to previous races in that we've only got 19 drivers here tonight, so a reverse grid of 15 here is more like a full reverse grid.
Oh, indeed. So I think our drivers will be anticipating that, and therefore it won't be as much of a worry on their mind, because particularly when we look back at, say, Alton Park, where we had 25 plus drivers and that reverse grid really became prominent. Whereas here today, to be fair, if you start P19, you've still got to come through the order with a reverse grid or not, even if you have got the ultimate pace around here. But it'll feel more as though it's more of a tactical play, and in that third race, when you've got the 25 minutes available, you can really take your time in incrementing your way up the order. Even in race number 2, where it's another 15-minute race, if you start down in P15, that P15 doesn't actually feel that far from the front of the field, given how close we're expecting everyone to run. But there's also the big question, lap 1 coming down to Maggots and Aintree, how will our drivers all navigate through there? If you recall, Alex, it was the case in season 1. We did see quite a few MX-5s. In fact, one of them ended up on their side on the opening lap. Will we see a repeat of that here today?
I'd like to say no, but you never know. You never know on iRacing. You never know in the MX-5 Cup. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, casting our minds back to what was actually the first race hosted on NXTGEN Racing in the MX-5 Cup here. Started off all them months ago. I think it was October last year or something like that. I might be wrong about that, but it was a long time ago, and that was the first round of the championship back then, and it hosts pretty much the halfway point of this championship here. But yeah, it was drama filled. A lot of drivers on the circuit at once, like there are today. But that Maggots to Aintree complex was the particular hotspot for many incidents that day. So we'll see how that part of the track gets on today. But a lot of drivers really hitting their marks here in qualifying at this point. Into 11th place goes Rob McGregor, Paul.
And Rob McGregor right now really trying to build up a little bit of pace here. And that P11 that had the HSR2 drivers, he runs in the tow the number 17 car. And, well, in fact, that's John Higgins Jr. we're focusing on a little bit here. And the two of them working together. But you can see HSR really not comfortable with being up the front of the order. But again, that delta between William Chadwick on that 104.688 all the way down to P10, the separation there, well, it's not even half a second.
No, it's not much at all, and that just typifies this circuit. It's so close indeed. Every driver who's in the top 18 here are within a second. It is incredible to think that. And only less than half a second between the top 12 here. It's going to be close tonight here at the Silverstone National circuits. Do not take your eyes off, ladies and gentlemen. But we've got drivers who are going to be starting their final laps now and soon finishing their final laps. So there's plenty to watch. Let's get the track map on so we can see who's on laps. We've got a big gaggle of cars coming out of Aintree right now. We've got Adam Delmont leading the pack here. Now, Adam Delmont here hasn't got a draft ahead of him. He hasn't got a tow from another car in front. Surely that means he might miss out on the pole spot, Paul.
I think so, because right now he's gifted an opportunity to Mikey Doble and 1, 2, 3, 4 of the other drivers behind, and I think there's 2 next-gen drivers in there as well, but maybe there'll be a switch right at the end. In fact, Adam Delmont's not going to come around to go on to another lap, so I think he may actually feel as though he's done everything he can, and looking at his sector times on this lap, he's not improving in sectors 1 or 2, so as he comes to line here, I think all he's done is he's gifted this to Mikey Doble, potentially jump ahead, and as they come to that checkered flag line, will it be for Doble in particular, where he was 1.2 tenths down, and well, Mikey Doble has not improved there, so he stayed P3. Nobody improving in that group.
No one at all. It's very strange indeed. Let's see how the Verano drivers get on in Chris Daines and Dan James. No improvements from them either. Nigel Stock down in 19th. Oh no, it was William Fuller who came across the line. No improvement from him either. Nigel Stock is coming around Luffield now. We've also got the driver of Jamie Nicholson coming around. No driver who's crossed the line has improved their time for what I've seen. Let's see if Jamie Nicholson can change that as he comes across the line. Nope, no improvement for him. What about Nigel Stock? No, he's gone into the pits. So that's it. This is our qualifying order for the first race of the night. And it's very strange we didn't see many drivers improve their times. all of them seem to get them done in the early part of the session, Paul.
Indeed, I think it may be the case. Perhaps there's a bit of an effect of track temperature and the amount of rubber down the circuit, but qualifying definitely in the end. Well, the big shout out really from qualifying is Jamie Nicholson, P8, the pole sitter for the AM class, and on pole in the AM class by the best part of 5 places to Lee Horne, who's down in P13. I think Nicholson, if he gets a good start in this race, number one, he could really set the tempo in the AM class here today, and Lee Horne and Michael Lees will be worried about that because Nicholson has really come out the gate flying.
Absolutely, and although the categories get scored on points based on their position in the category rather than overall, the fact that there's a lot of drivers between Nicholson and Lee Horne in second place means that Nicholson is rather safe in that position for the time being anyway. But we have ticked over into the race session, so we're going to see the grid for this first race of the night. William Chadwick on pole position from Adam Delmont in second place. Let's see if Adam Delmont can get a better night in tonight. Mikey Doble, 3 times champion, defending champion, in third place on the grid alongside the championship leader right now, Liam McNeilly. Jamie Dory, our league host, lines up 5th with Chris Staines in 6th place alongside. Nick Clibbins in 7th place with the first of the AM category drivers. In 8th place there is Jamie Nicholson. Dan Skinner in 9th position with John Higgins Jr. in the 10th position. Rob McGregor lines up in 11th position with Dan James alongside on the 6th row there. 13 and 14, the 7th row taken up by Lee Horne and Michael Lees. Aidan Wilson 15th with William Fall in 16th. Paul Scott will line up in 17th position with Alan McCain 18th. And in 19th at the back of the grid will line up Nigel Stock. So here we go. This is the 6th round of the championship. And quite the track we are going to be introduced to in this later part of the season. It's the part of the season where drivers are going to be thinking more about their championship than they are who they're battling with, the fun they're having. The championship comes first and foremost above all. Whether they're at the top of the standings or whether at the middle of the standings trying to get a better position. That is what's on everyone's mind at this point in the season. And this race comes first in the second half of the season here for the NXTGEN MX-5 Cup. The next 5 weeks we have got MX-5 racing on Monday nights here for you on Crest Autosport TV and NXTGEN Racing TV. So here we go. We are still waiting for drivers to line up on the grid. I think we're about 7 seconds away. Very quickly, Paul, who's your money on?
I'm putting my money on what is Adam Delmont. I think he's going to try and find a way to win this as we've got the lights coming up. It's going to be 5 red lights starting off with 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. As lights out, away we go for race number 1 here at Silverstone, and William Chadwick getting a good start here. Adam Delmont covering off the inside quite nicely. It's Mikey Doble getting very fighty early on with Liam McNeilly, and Mikey Doble holding that P3, and it looks as though McNeilly not being able to get on through as they make their way through turn 1 and now head down towards the Maggots Aintree complex, and they're all line astern. No major moments so far as they roll the way on down, but now into the first heavy braking zone. You can see Mikey Doble taking a little peek up the inside there. I think more of a cover off as Jamie Nicholson also getting a good start, but there's a couple of tries get it wrong there, and we have had a massive concertina. Goodness me, Alex, it's happened already.
It has, straight away into Maggot's corner. I see Dan James involved, Nick Clibbins is involved, Alan McCain is involved after the brilliant round he had at Spa-Francorchamps. And might we see a safety car straight away? No, we don't. The safety car stays in the pits at the moment, so racing will resume. But at the front here, we have William Chadwick, Alan Delmont, Liam McNeilly, who's gone ahead of Mikey Doble, who's under pressure from Chris Staines here. Out of left field to go. End of lap 1 here at Silverstone National. Only one position swap notable at the top here is between Liam McNeilly and Mikey Doble. But at the front here, we've got Adam Delmont challenging William Chadwick, going into Cobb's corner. Into the corner we go, but Adam Delmont pulls out of it. But the safety car is out on the track because there was a lot of cars in the middle of the circuit. The safety car was called out, and we will have a few laps behind the Porsche GT4 car driven by Gaz Williams, resident NXTGEN racing driver, very popular in the Wednesday series. But we will have a few slow laps here just to calm things down from the initial first lap here. So, Paul, let's take a look back at what happened on this opening lap of the race. I think it started off with an incident from Nick Clibbins here.
Well, as it was the case, Nick Clibbins is our focus. As they break their way into Maggots in the Aintree, you'll see Clibbins here. Okay, there's a small... No, there wasn't Well, there's a small tap there to the car in front, and then Nick Clemens is backed off taps from the rear there, and that's what led to 4 drivers coming together. And I believe, unless I'm mistaken, that is Dan Skinner, who's just coming a little bit hot. But was there a further tap on Dan Skinner? No, Dan Skinner came in hot, just a bit too much speed, and then Jamie Nicholson literally being used a little bit of a push to shove there by the HSR driver behind. So I think Jamie Nicholson will be taking a sigh of relief right now, although he may be sweating a little bit about what the stewards have to say. But Dan Skinner, they're definitely just coming in a little bit too hot by the looks of things. And well, John Higgins, well, it was Aidan Wilson in fact there who was a little bit further back from all this, and as they came on in, it was one of those situations where I think also Dan James there trying to actually stay on the inside line and getting caught up. Aidan Wilson going off the circuit, but Dan James, the runner Autosport driver, who rejoined, and well, he gave a small knock to another one of the cars much further down the order. I think that was Alan McCain. But a number of drivers there having to take evasive action, some of them getting it right and going to the outside, others there trying to creep up that inside. Dan James in particular just getting it wrong in terms of where to take the car. As he got back up to speed here, well, the car snapped into the middle of the road and sent what was Alan McCain spinning, but he managed to get back under control. Nice 360-degree pirouette there, style points, I'd say.
I think I did that in my rally league yesterday, hitting a rock and spinning around and going straight back in a straight line. Very, very good rally skills there from McCain, but a little bit of damage on the car he won't be happy about. But yeah, quite a tricky instant indeed. Just looking at, it was Dan Skinner heading into the corner. I did notice he broke a lot later than every other driver going into that corner. So just got to be careful that on cold tyres here and with the cars concertinaing up, you're not going to be able to use the same braking points as you normally would do on a hot lap. You have to consider that things will build up ahead of you on the first lap of a race. But you know what? Accidents do happen in a series like this, and drivers do have the opportunity here to take a fast repair from the pits. Which means they do fall to the back of the grid, but it does mean they get a fresh car, go back out onto the track and get another crack at this race, which will have about 10 minutes remaining as we head towards the end of this lap. I presume the safety car will be in this lap. Any inside information for us, Paul?
Not currently, other than the safety car is still deployed, but in fact we've just had confirmation it will be coming in this lap. Good call there, Alex. And that means we haven't lost too much time here, given how short the lap is and how quickly they've cleared it up.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it, and that's why we have a, we'll call it a manual safety car here, because it means we can control how many laps we follow the safety car, because it's a set amount of laps on iRacing that you follow the safety car. But you know what? Let's resume the racing here. It is William Chadwick at the front. He decides when he wants to go, and the field must follow suit. They must maintain a consistent speed. William Chadwick warming up his tyres. It's very important to have warm tyres heading around Copse, but he's going to time this to perfection here to try and blast away from Adam Delmont, and it's now at left field 2, heading out the corner, and actually Adam Delmont did not get the power down quite as soon as he wanted. Liam McNeilly is right on his heels as we hit the green flag here at Silverstone National to resume this race. 10 minutes to go in this race. McNeilly takes to the inside to try and go to the inside at Copse corner on Adam Delmont. He does take to the inside, and he gains the position on the inside there with Mikey Doble following close behind. Doble with a very good run through Copse corner, heading towards Maggotts Bend we go now, and sharp braking into the right hander we go. Doble dives to the inside of Adam Delmont, who's stuck on the outside still from the move happened one corner ago at Copse corner. Doble now to the right side of Adam Delmont. He will now have the outside heading down to Brooklands corner, but he has a draft from Liam McNeilly. Not anymore, as Adam Delmont slots back in there. Chris Daines just waiting there in 5th place for something to happen. McNeilly goes defensive now into Brooklands. Through we go, and Adam Delmont does not challenge the move. He is trying to shape the corner differently, trying to get a good exit through these corners and get a good run on McNeilly coming out of left field here. But all this is allowing Chadwick to break away a little bit here. Very close between these 4 drivers. What about the AM category? Nicholson's gap to the other fellow AM category drivers has been cut short as Lee Horne has gained 4 places to 9th overall and is right behind his AM category rival ahead of him. Lee Horne in 2nd place in the championship has a good opportunity to go for the championship in this second half of the season. Back at the front here, Paul, it's between McNeilly and Delmont again.
Oh, indeed. And as they roll the way on through, this time McNeilly having to defend, and Delmont coming back at him. And Delmont has been experimenting with that outside line, because he had to defend last time round, but now Delmont really starting to build that pressure. And, well, McNeilly keeping that nice and tight inside line down the Wellington Straight all the way up to where's the penultimate corner as they make the way into the braking zone here. You see Mikey Doble scrambling as well to that outside line, but McNeilly right now really trying to force Delmont and Doble to battle. But instead, what it seems to be happening is they're all gradually coming back up to Chadwick, and therefore this battle for the lead is not going away anytime soon as they all roll their way out of left field once again and go towards the end of another lap. And keeping in mind we are almost at the halfway point. By the time they're in fact going to turn one into Cops, they will reach the halfway point in terms of the time. There's still plenty of laps to go, plenty of overtaking opportunities. And speaking of opportunity, I think McNeilly's sizing up Chadwick as they make the way into the braking zone for Cops, and he goes up the inside here. And Adam Delmont takes a little peek, but has to back off of the apex curve there, otherwise he would have sent Chadwick spinning off circuit and gone with him, I think, as they make the way down into Maggots and Tree, and into that braking zone they go. Forward Zilla making themselves too wide here, but Delmont's taking a little peek. He just does not have enough leverage up the inside, and I don't think he wants to dare to go for it, because otherwise he may end up causing a contact. He's going to get a really good exit here, and Chadwick out of sorts. They make their way down the straight. It's going to be 4 wide at this rate, Alex.
It is. Mikey Doble sliding down the middle here between Chadwick and Delmont, heading to Brooklands here. We've got the Fordzilla drivers pushing each other along, trying to get themselves in front. Danes is now on the inside of Adam Delmont as well, who's dropped down to 5th place right now. But Mikey Doble, he was looking like he was going to lose to 5th place to Chris Danes just a few corners ago, but he's now in 2nd place. What a charge from the defending champion. Adam Delmont now on the inside of William Chadwick, heading through Woodcote Corner. It is cut off by Chadwick, who drops to 3rd place in the matter of a lap here. Danes is the only one who takes the outside here. We might have another 3 wide heading into Cops Corner. McNeilly leads on this lap. Oh, so close between Chadwick and Doble as he heads off the track. Coming out of Cops Corner, look at all the cars that are gathering up behind this battle here, including Dory, McGregor and Nicholson. Into Maggots we go. Danes almost pushing along Mikey Doble there, who gives a little bit of a tap to William Chadwick there. And Adam Delmont round the outside gets back into 3rd place, and it puts Doble back down to 4th place. This is exactly what we were talking about earlier. It's just swap and change here at this track of Silverstone National. An absolute classic circuit to watch racing on. And there's so much going on here, and we've got a position swap between Adam Delmont and Chadwick, but Delmont is going to be washed out on the outside here at Luffield Corner. Can he get a good run through the corner? The inside is definitely the favourable line through Luffield here. Mikey Doble with a very good run coming out of Luffield there. He'll be able to push along Chadwick, but not make a move just yet. Heading up towards Cops Corner. What's going to happen, Paul?
Well, we'll have to wait and see here as they make the way on in, but Doble once again find himself affixed to a car in front of him on that inside line, and what this is actually doing, and notice something here as he goes side by side with Delmont. This shows you the respect the drivers have for one another, because Delmont right now is taking an ultimate risk, which is on an outside line against cars which could technically understeer any moment. This shows you how much respect they have for one another behind the wheel, and they trust one another to battle. And Delmont going up the inside here into Maggots, and it is the case that Chadwick sees him coming and gives him the space, and we'll look for the return run now as they head down the Wellington Straight. And also a bit further back, noticing whilst you were talking there, Alex, it's the case that Jamie Doyle and Chris Danes now started to battle side by side as they make the way down the Wellington Straight here, and where it's going to be Chris Danes on the inside, as meanwhile the leaders look to go 3 wide almost, but it is the case that Chadwick on that inside to outside, it's going to be down on the outside to inside, and there Rob McGregor trying to take on Jamie Dory, as it is the case as the leaders battle and back one another up. They're all coming back together, but we can see now it is the case that Adam Delmont in that P2 position. He's finally got himself back ahead for the time being, but he is affording a gap to Liam McNeilly, who is going off into the distance. So I say the distance, it's only 7.5 tenths, but it is enough to make him feel comfortable as Adam Delmont now defends the inside. They go into Cops once again. Mikey Doble again finds himself pinned on that inside line. This time it's Chadwick trying to go on around. Chris Danes has broken away from Dory for a brief moment here, but as they head down towards the braking zone at 4 Maggots, it is one of those situations where it could change at any moment, and this batting up front really is the main focus of our cameraman's attention right now. A little bit further back, we have got a battle between Nicholson, Lease and Horne, which has also started kicking off. Michael Lease has got ahead of Lee Horne for P2 in the AM class, and as they make the way now down the Wellington Straight, we take a look back here, Alex.
Yeah, this is the move from Michael Lees on Lee Horne. He already had the inside covered coming out of Cobb's corner, and he just holds the inside there, putting Lee Horne without contact out onto that outer area then under pressure from William Foyle. Let's head back to the live action as we head through Brooklands and Luffield. It's so close between these AM category drivers. In the DeWalt livery there is Nicholson ahead of Michael Lees and Lee Horne, who's trying to fight back on the inside here. Hasn't got the inside for Woodcote. He has to sit in third place for the time being. But it's William Foyle also looking to join in with this group of cars here, trying to get himself on the podium in category here. William Foyle entered the league quite late, so he's trying to catch up on points. Oh, as we see McNeilly really using all the track limits and more coming out of Cobb's corner there, trying to maintain his gap over Chadwick. It's quite a comfy gap with only 3 minutes to go, which is around about 3 or 4 laps around this circuit. Really trying to keep himself comfortable ahead of these drivers here, but we see a lot of position swaps here for the AM category. William Foyle has got himself ahead of Lee Horne for third place in the category here. Let's take a quick replay of how he did that. Straight to the inside, going at Maggott's corner. It's a very brave move from William Foyle, but well executed, and good racing respect from Lee Horne to allow him the room on the inside there. Lee Horne's a bit of a sitting duck here. He's under pressure from Higgins Jr. as well, but it's Michael Lees in the lead of this AM category here, doing very well indeed. This was the move for that first place in category up the inside at Maggots, the same time as William Foyle overtook Lee Horne, and heading out wide there was Nicholson. He could do nothing but watch Michael Lees head by. Now back at the front, the gap has shortened between McNeilly and Chadwick on that last lap there, and dropping off the back a little bit here is Adam Delmont. It might well become a three-way battle for this top spot. Mikey Doble might be clever here and letting Chadwick catch up with his own teammate and putting his teammate in danger. As Doble is going to close in here, and he'll use these final few laps here, Paul, to pounce on these two drivers.
Oh, indeed. And I do wonder whether Delmont's waiting to see how it all ends between these three, and on that final lap, he'll try and pick up the pieces like a vulture, if you will. But right now, McNeilly having to go at a degree defensive as they make their way through into the last two corners. And as they come through, it is the case that right now, Mikey Doble really trying to build that pressure up. He's trying to get Chadwick to put more pressure on McNeilly. But I think the two Fordzilla teammates know how much pressure they need to apply on each other in order to stay ahead of Doble. And right now, as they make their way on through, they'll be going on to what I believe will be the final lap as they cross the timeline. We can see them and Neely going defensive. Chadwick's going to put himself in the middle. Doble's going to go on the outside, almost three wide, but the Fordzilla drivers here going side by side into our first corner of Cops, and as they roll through, it's going to be the case that McNeilly there run, well, I believe it was Chadwick actually running quite wide, and as they make their way side by side down towards Maggots, it's going to be the mad scramble into the first of two heavy braking zones, and Mikey Doble trying to go between the two of them, and he's going to be on the inside there, and he will have the move on Chadwick, but now it's all about the run down the Wellington straight, and as they come charging on down, you can see Delmont's also trying to get into the mix. He's trying to tuck in behind Mikey Doble. The top four literally nose to tail, 2 by 2, as they head on down, and Fordzilla covering off that inside to outside route. Meanwhile, Doble trying to go round the outside to inside. Who's going to come off on top as they roll away through the left hand? Mikey Doble trying to do Mission Impossible here, which is 2 for 1. I don't think he's going to be able to get it, but he will get one of them. McNeilly holds that lead position, and as they roll the way out the final corner, I think this is McNeilly's to lose. As they come around, the checker flag will be waiting for them. They roll them through, and McNeilly is going to take this one, but Mikey Doble on the inside there. Will he pip to P2? I'm not 100% sure, but McNeilly does take the win, and Doble, by looks, just takes second place ahead of Chadwick, and Delmont also there, and Chris Daines a P5 in the end. That was nearly a photo finish, Alex.
It was a photo finish. It's so close between those drivers. 2,000ths between Doble and Chadwick coming across the line there. It looked like Chadwick pipped Doble to the second spot, but that's how close it was. You can see on the telemetry on the left there. Brilliant racing by the top four there. Pretty much zero contact throughout that race as well, which is excellent to say. In the AM category, Michael Lees took the win in that category, and William Foyle got himself up to second place in category in the end there. Jamie Nicholson, he had a good qualifying. The race didn't quite fare well for him. Maybe the tyres went off a little bit, but he drops down to third place in category. But a good race there from Michael Lees and William Foyle in the AM category, that's for certain. But I think we have our race results confirmed. provisional, of course, pending post-race penalties, of course, but this is the results from race 1 here at Silverstone National Circuit, round 6 of the MX-5 Cup. Liam McNeilly takes another win in the championship here, and I'm just going to quickly see how many wins he has notched up this season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins this season, one of them being an endurance as well. So that's number 7 for Liam McNeilly. Mikey Doble takes second position, 82 thousandths off of Liam McNeilly, and only, well, apparently 1 thousandth of a second between the two of them. Chadwick takes third position. Adam Delmont, despite the front row start, finishes 4th, but you know what? That's good points for him to get himself higher in the championship. He will definitely take that. Chris Daines, 5th position from Jamie Dory, our league host, in 6th position from Rob McGregor, who gained 4 places to finish himself off in 7th position. Michael Lees, first of the AM category drivers, finishes in 8th overall and 1st in category. Biggest move with the field. William Foyle gains 7 places to 9th and 2nd in category. Jamie Nicholson drops 2 places overall and in category to 10th position, but 3rd in category, and a podium for him. John Higgins Jr. in 11th with Lee Horne 12th. Dan Skinner, after the hard start to the race, 13th for him. Nick Clibbins in 14th. Nigel Stock gains 4 places to 15th. Aidan Wilson 16th. Paul Scott finishes where he started in 17th, as does Alan McCain in 18th. And Dan James will round off the field in 19th position. That has been the first race of the night, and what a thrilling one it was indeed here at Silverstone National Circuit. We're going to be coming back very shortly with the second race of the night, which is another 15-minute sprint race. 15-minute sprint race, where the top 15 drivers will be reversed. So on pole position for the next race will be Nigel Stock. So come back in a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, for the second race of the night, presented to you by myself, Alex Everett, and Paul Walsh alongside me on Crest Autosport TV and NXTGEN Racing TV. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Silverstone National Circuit in Northamptonshire, United Kingdom. This is the NXTGEN Racing MX-5 Cup. Race 2 coming up for you in the next 2 to 3 minutes. In race 1, we saw Liam McNeilly take his 7th win of the season, but it wasn't given to him easy. A very close battle between him, William Chadwick, and Chris Staines and Mikey Doble, the main championship protagonist in the pro category. A very close race between the four of them. And in the AM category, it was a win to Michael Lease, who's 11th in the championship, so that'll certainly pick things up for himself to get him higher up in the championship. So a good job to Michael Lease in that first race as well. But we are about to head into the second race here of the night, which is another 15-minute sprint race, and it'll be a grid formed by the results of race 1, of which the grid will go through very, very shortly. But this next race, very similar in that it's a 15-minute race, but a reverse grid. So, Paul, it's a very tricky track to overtake on, as we've seen, because if you can maintain momentum, you can keep yourself in a very good position on this track. So, what can we expect to see in this next race from the guys who were at the front of the pack in the previous race?
So it's going to be a very tactical approach now for the likes of Liam McNeilly and also Adam Delmont in there. They'll be looking at how they gradually make their way up the order, but they don't end up breaking the pack. They don't end up causing a small battle which sees them drop away from the top 6, and that top 6 are able to break away. Of course, the slipstream around here, or the tow as we like to refer to it, normally reaches out to about 1.5 to 1.7 seconds. That's where it starts to get felt. When it's within a 1 second range, that's where you really feel the effects. They'll be wanting to make sure that no opponent gets a second away and that they're smart with how they come through the order. And I've just been looking back, Alex, it is the case that we've had some photos coming with that photo finish between Mikey Doble and William Chadwick for P2 in the pro class. I'm sure we're going to be seeing plenty of side-by-side moments, and those are the moments we've got to watch out for here, because we've seen drivers go side-by-side for each and every corner, and that costs time, but it leads to some spectacular battling.
Yeah, I'm actually going to put that photo finish picture up on the stream very, very, very quickly before we go through the grid. But that's how close it was, ladies and gentlemen, between those four cars. Very, very close indeed. Great to see. But let's head to the grid for this second race of the night. So let's see if we can actually get the grid on the screen here. There we go. Right, so it's Nigel Stock on pole position with Nick Clemens alongside. Dan Skinner will line up third with Lee Horne alongside him fourth. John Higgins Jr. will line up fifth with Jamie Nicholson sixth. William Thorle, who finished second in the AM category in the previous race, will start seventh with the winner of the AM category alongside in eighth position of Michael Lease. Rob McGregor will line up ninth with Jamie Dury in 10th position. Chris Staines will line up 11th with Adam Delmont in 12th. Third place winner in the first race will be William Chadwick in 13th. 14th will go to Mikey Doble, the defending champion, and the championship leader, Liam McNeilly, will line up 15th. Aidan Wilson 16th with Paul Scott, defending AM champion, in 17th. Alan McCain in 18th, and Dan James will line up in 19th. Here we go. The start of the race is to us now. We're about to get underway for the second race of the night. It's Nigel Stock on the right. On the left is Nick Clemens, and away we go. And it's a pretty decent start from Nigel Stock already. But as we head towards Cobb's Corner, who's going to get in front first out of those two? Nigel Stock doesn't look like he's getting it, and it has gone to Nick Clemens, who nips into the lead, going through Cobb's Corner and getting very squirrely on the exit of the corner there. Oh, and a spin in the middle there from Lee Horne. He spins on cold tyres coming out of Cobb's Corner, and it puts him into the wall. And the second in the championship runner, Lee Horne, already his race in tatters in this second race of the night, and he might not have a safety car to bail him out here, but he might get lucky here, as there's a spin from Mikey Doble coming out of Maggots here, Paul.
Oh, indeed. And I think it may be the case that Mikey Doble involved in some contact. We take a look back and focusing on Mikey Doble, we can see they're battling side by side with the Ford Zilla machines as they roll the way through. There's a bit of Constantine and Michael Lease, and it looks like Mikey Doble just lost the rear end there. Well, I think it was the case he may have hesitated, dabbed a little bit of the brake, then put the throttle on as well, because the incident was happening further in front. And if he just kept the throttle on and gone a bit wide, he would not have seen that. But on cold tyres, it's easy to say he didn't need to do it, but on cold tyres, it's very easy to get it wrong. And as they come around to complete the open opening lap. It is Dan Skinner who is your leader currently, with Nigel Stock battling with Nick Clemens and John Higgins for P2 as they make the way into turn number 1. It's going to be Clemens looking up the inside of Higgins. They roll the way on through. That's the top 4. A bit further back we have Ron McGregor in P5, but we focus here on our top 4 for the time being as they roll the way down into Maggots once again, and Skinner trying to break away with this, but John Higgins Jr. really coming up aggressively on the inside run here, and as they make the way through the braking zone of 2 into 3, John Higgins Jr. gain another place. So we've got a car off there. That is Paul Scott. The next gen racing drivers here seem to be experiencing a lot of bad luck at the moment, Alex.
Yeah, hasn't gone well. Oh, dabbing the brakes heading out of the corner there. That's not what you want to do. It's just unsettled the rear of the car and it has sent him round and into another car and well down in the order in this race. Right, back towards the front here. John Higgins Jr. takes the lead here from Dan Skinner, and Nigel Stock has slipped down to 5th place, but he's still first in category in the AM category. But there's 4 drivers at the front here squabbling for that top spot, and it's been a different leader on each lap. As we saw, it was Dan Skinner leading the end of the first lap, and now it's going to be John Higgins Jr. Heading through the corner we go. We've got side by side here as we head on to the 3rd lap between Chris Daines and Jamie Dory. Dory is on the inside as we head into Cops Corner, but Daines gets a very good run. And look at that run from the Fordzilla car behind of William Chadwick. A nudge on the rear of Jamie Dory, which unsettles him a little bit, but they're able to keep going. But heading into Maggots Corner here, Higgins Jr. guards the inside. He's going to help through his teammate Rob McGregor on the outside. He's hoping anyway. Dan Skinner there trying to hang it round the outside, towing through Nick Clibbins, and we've got Nigel Stock here trying to line up a move on these drivers as well, trying to hold on to his AM category lead. Heading down towards Brooklands, they're all line astern, heading into the corner. On to the outside goes Dan Skinner, but he's going to leave that inside vulnerable, but no driver takes it as Higgins Jr. continues to lead this race. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, there is contact again, and it's Staines who makes contact with Jamie Nicholson. Round he goes at Luffield there, Paul. What on earth happened there?
Well, I think it's the case. They all came together, and in that concertina effect coming through a Luffield corner, Jamie Nicholson lost out. We take a look back here, focusing on Jamie Nicholson, and just on that inside and how it tapers so tight that everybody wants to try and take that inside line. And I think Chris Daines will feel as though it was the case that if he was aware of Jamie Nicholson, it was the unfortunate instant. They just both tried to go to the apex together. Jamie Nicholson got his nose in there, but in the end it's Chris Daines who has survived the contact. There might be a few words after the race.
Going here. Look at Chris Daines go here. Chris Daines has just pulled it through the middle of about 4 drivers there. Brilliant exit out of Cobb's corner and puts it through on everyone to get it from P5 to P1 in a matter of a corner. Just look at him go with the slipstream on Nigel Stock here. To the outside he goes. He gets around Nigel Stock and Nick Clemens into the middle of John Higgins Jr. and up the inside of Dan Skinner. That is one of the best overtakes of the season. It's right there. Brilliant stuff from Chris Daines there. And he's going to move away here from the pack. And something's happened to Liam McNeilly here. He spun around at Brooklands there. Oh, and he just about avoids the oncoming traffic of Lees and Doble. Here we go, and into Brooklands corner. Tries to dive to the inside. I think that's William Fall. Oh, and Nigel Stock close to the door. And, well, to be fair, Nigel Stock had no idea Liam McNeilly was coming to the inside there. And, yeah, nowhere for Liam McNeilly to go in the end, with Nigel Stock closing that door there. And it ultimately ends their chances of a race here. Nigel Stock slips down to 16th and McNeilly down to 14th. But back at the front here, Chris Daines with one of the best moves of the season. Up 10 places to first place here. What a race this has been from Chris Daines. Ahead of his rivals in that first race, the likes of Delmont, Doble, McNeilly and Chadwick. He's miles ahead of them here, Paul. What a race he's having.
Oh, indeed. I'm glad you cut over me, Alex, because we just sort of completely agree with you. Perhaps the overtake of the season so far. Chris Daines picking so many drivers off. And right now, everybody else really trying to find a way to stay with Chris Daines. As we see there, William Chadwick getting past with Nick Clibbins in the run through Brooklands and into Luffield. And as they roll the way on through right now, Chadwick gradually building his way up the order once again. He's got Skinner and Higgins to go. But meanwhile, a bit further back, we can see Aidan Wilson here battling with William Fall. And it's the case of the pro battling with the AM driver. And I think William Fall here just needs to recognise the fact that he does not need to battle with the pros. He just needs to take his time, bide his time, and indeed he will have that win, all things considered. But as they roll the way on through here, gets fighty towards the front, and Chris Daines right now having to really work, trying to get everybody to stack up on one another as he holds the inside line in the run down into Maggots. And as he rolls his way on through here, Dan Skinner getting a bit more adventurous, trying to take that inside line. You can see Higgins trying to go all the way around the outside, but Daines gives him the cold shoulder and makes him go a little bit wide as they make the way down at the Wellington Straight and into that braking zone. And look at what is Chadwick here, also trying to come through in the middle. They're 3 wide in the battle for P2, and they're going to try and make it 3 wide in the battle for their lead as they come into the braking zone. Everyone out, break one over. Chris Danes tries to taper to the inside, gives the space there to Chadwick. A bit of brake dust being kicked up with how late he's got on the brakes there. Danes is really able to furiously defend this. He does not want to relinquish this lead. I think he's worried if he loses the lead, he'll be back into the medley, and he's going to get no other opportunity to lead this race, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chadwick has done very well in the last few laps to get himself up to this position. He's now caught up with Chris Danes and really putting pressure on him. He's joined the party now as they head side by side into Copse Corner. Can Chadwick get a better run on the outside here? He gives room on the inside, and yes, he does go through, but there's contact between Higgins Jr. and Danes. Nothing happens between them apart from Higgins going wide, but that will relinquish some positions by Higgins to Clibben, Story and Skinner as we head into Maggots Corner again, the main source of the drama in today's racing. Look at all these cars here. It's running back to as far as William Foyle, I believe, in 10th position. First in category. Just needs, as you said, Paul, he just needs to keep himself out of trouble, and win will be in the bag for him here, provided no drama happens, of course. Into Brooklands we go, and Chadwick... Oh, something happened, Paul.
A little bit further back, it looks as though that is Clibbens who's been turned, and well, he's dropped down the order as they made their way through Brooklands. And well, whilst all that was happening down to Maggots, well, Adam Delmont made a 2-for-1 lunge down into the corner. He's gained a couple of places as well, so there are some moves popping off, but it is the case not all of them are working out as expected. I'm sorry to cut across you there, Alex, but we just saw that spin from what was one of our drivers, Nick Clibbens, who's now down to P14.
Nick Clibbens spun at Brooklands down to 14th. Not entirely sure what happened there. Nothing's come up on the events list here, so it might have been a spin himself. Oh, I thought something else happened to Liam McNeilly, but he's blinking in and out with his internet connection. But back at the front here, Danes takes to the inside of Chadwick. He repeated the move that Chadwick made on himself and made a big lunging move to the inside at Maggots Corner. But still alongside is William Chadwick. He's not given up on it, and we're only just over halfway point in this race. Plenty to go for these drivers, plenty of battling to go, and don't write off any of the other drivers lurking behind here. Dan Skinner, Jamie Dory and John Higgins Jr. to contend with these two drivers at the front here. Also, do not write off Adam Delmont, who had a bad start to this race, but he is right up onto this pack now and can get himself involved in this battle for the race win. Mikey Doble back here working together with Liam McNeilly, both main championship rivals. Chadwick is up ahead, gaining the points on them, and they've got to try and catch back up. They could do with a safety car to get them out of jail here, but it's not going their way at the moment in this race. Back into first place goes William Chadwick ahead of Chris Danes. Danes in the very notable yellow and blue Verano livery there, and the iconic eSports Fordzilla livery there to battle with as well. To the outside at Maggots Corner, a different approach here from Chris Danes. He's going to take to the outside here at Maggots and Aintree, gets his nose in front, and he'll have the inside for Brooklands here. He'll take the position here, Paul. Brilliant thinking from Chris Danes.
Oh, indeed, he's changing his tactics up. He's really now thinking about trying to place the car 2 corners in advance, whereby he's trying to hold an inside line to a more critical corner. But the switch back there from Chadwick, interestingly, gets the inside run, but to the outside. And Dan's going to try and get involved once again, but Dan's going to have to really quickly stab on the brakes there in order to be able to get the car to stop. And behind, Jamie Dory has got up to P4. Don't count him out. He's actually made his way quite a way up the order, has Jamie Dory. 6 places gained since the start of this race. And Adam Delmont now right in the thick of this as he makes his way side by side with William Fold, the AM leader, keep in mind, as they make their way onto another lap. It's the case of only 5 more minutes to go, and Chadwick versus Danes into Copse Corner at turn 1. Danes on the inside, Chadwick on the outside, but the two of them now giving one another the space and also giving one another the momentum in order to stay ahead. And I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to contest this lead position, but also at the same time avoid letting the third party get involved. And that third party, I think, is going to be Dory, who's really building up that momentum, as we do see there a bit of minor contact between the two drivers. What is Danes and Chadwick, and as they roll their way down to the Wellington Straight once again, Jamie Dory now up to P3, and he's flying here, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jamie Dory hasn't been well this week. He's had a bit of a flu of some sort. Been very unwell since last Thursday, but he's doing very well here if he's better. Very well here, contending in the top 3. He is trying to make a break from this pack here to make his way towards the top 2 here. The battle of which he definitely wants is he wants to contend at the top of the championship with the likes of Danes and Chadwick, and he's just got to make his way past Dan Skinner, who's doing a very, very good job credit to Dan Skinner. He started the race very well, getting himself into the lead by the end of the first lap, and he hasn't let go of those 2 spots just ahead of him. Still trying to maintain a chance at those top 2 spots. Do not write them off. This battle's going as far back to 9th place here, and these drivers are just waiting for something to happen in front of them, presumably. And as we head into Maggots Corner, it is a little bit of a chess match at the moment between Chadwick and Danes. They're trying to figure out what parts of the track will get them ahead best, and they'll use those moves and positioning later on in the race on that final lap to gain the position and ultimately win the race. That's what they're going to be going for, as there's a lot of swapping of track position here between these drivers, Jamie Dory and John Higgins Jr. Jamie Dory losing a lot of momentum here by the looks of it, Paul.
Indeed, I think he's just overcooked it a little bit coming through the Brooklands into Luffield combination, and now has really got to settle the car back down. He's got Adam Delmont now putting some pressure on, and whilst they are technically teammates, it is the case. I think Delmont, if he sees an opportunity, he'll want to take that position. As we see they're defending to the inside, that's John Higgins into turn 1, and Higgins trying to follow in the wheel tracks of Dan Skinner, interestingly, as they roll the way on through in towards where's the run to Maggots, and as they head their way down, Chris Dane's in the middle of the road at the front with Chadwick on his inside here, and these two, much like you were saying, Alex, in that chess match with one another as they roll the way on in. But Dan Skinner now really building that momentum and having to just back off there through fear of tapping Chris Danes on the rear. But Danes goes wide, and that may just upset the rhythm of the car a little bit as they head down the Wellington Straight. Also happening off camera right now, we do have Michael Lees battling for what is P10 as he chases after Mikey Doble and Liam McNeilly, who keep swapping places as they try to close up to this battle. But they are still at 2.7 seconds back, and you can see here is Liam McNeilly leading, as meanwhile we look to Chris Danes here in a side-by-side once again. Oh, goodness me, what nerves happened here to John Higgins Jr.?
Something's happened between him and Adam Delmont. Adam Delmont is just behind with the green chassis on his car, the green roll cage. Oh, and there was contact between Dan Skinner and Jamie Dory, and it ends up pushing Dan Skinner out into John Higgins Jr., and Delmont got collected by his teammate ahead of him, and that really put an end to some good racing between all these drivers as we have 2 laps to go. Dan Skinner, you gotta say, got away with that, but other drivers didn't quite end up with the luck that they needed in that instant, particularly Adam Delmont, who again falls down to the order with an instant that's just out of his control there, Paul.
Indeed, and if you want somebody who defines the definition of wrong time, wrong place, it is the case that Adam Delmont right now is always in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it is not working out for him, as William Chadwick now leading here on the penultimate lap as they head down the Wellington Straight this time, and it's still Skinner and Wilson behind who are batting for P3, and both of them want to be that P3 driver ready to pounce if the 2 leaders make contact. And I have noticed we are starting to see some more door banging between Chadwick and Danes. They've got closer to the end of the race, and as they come out of the final corners here, they'll be going on to one more lap, and the question will be, will we now see the full elbows come out? Of course, we don't want them to take one another out. That's not what we want here at Next Gen Racing, but I do think they're teeing up here. Now they will start to really put that pressure and assert on one another as they make the way across the line. So it is Chadwick leading going on to the final lap, with Danes trying to look for the cutback here as they go through Copse Corner. He doesn't find it, but Chadwick goes a little bit deep on the run out, but it looks as though he's carried enough momentum. We can see there Skinner trying to weave behind, looking for that opportunity, but Skinner being made to go to the outside here in the braking zone to Maggots, and as they roll the way on through, right now Dan Skinner's trying to go all the way around the outside. Can he get that P2 over Chris Danes? He's had a good run here. I think Skinner's made the move around the outside. He's going to make it stick, given the fact he was afforded the tow by Chadwick, and now Chadwick will be given an opportunity as it's 3 wide down the Wellington Straight in the battle for P2. Skinner defending to the inside, Danes to the middle, and it's Wilson on the outside here. Into the braking zone they go. Chadwick covers it off very well. Danes tries to cut on the inside here, but we find themselves waiting on the outside as they make the way into Luffield Corner. Chadwick, I think, might have this as a bit of contact between what is Skinner and Danes, and that upsets the apple car for Skinner in turn. A lot of drivers coming on through, but as they make the way to the checker flag, it will be Chadwick who takes the win in race number 2 here at Silverstone National as he comes across the line with an advantage of 2.5 tenths over Chris Danes. Jamie Dory P3, Aidan Wilson P4, and William Foyle will take the AM win in the end as part of this lead pack. And then Michael Lees comes home in P2 in the AM class, P6 ahead of Mikey Doble, Clearance, Delmont and Higgins. But that last lap, those last couple of corners, Alex, it all kicked off.
It did indeed. Let's take a little replay of how that happened. It all kicked off at Luffield Corner. So here we are going around Brooklands Corner, the left-hander. So Dan Skinner in the McLaren-styled livery there on the right. Oh, and it just comes together between Danes and Skinner. Higgins is collected, and then McNeilly and Doble are collected. They were able to carry on despite contact with other drivers, even still. But yeah, a very messy end to that race. I'm trying to work out what actually happened between Danes and Skinner here. It just looks like, yeah, Skinner's got the inside and he's on the inside for a very long time, and it just looks like the gap between them, well, just got too tight in the end between the two of them heading into left field. Would you agree, Paul?
I would agree with you. As we take a look back again, I think it's the case they both were the inside, and Skinner here, he put himself in a position whereby he's got to try and carry the speed into the corner, but in doing so, as Danes has turned in, I think Danes has expected Skinner to perhaps back out there, given the fact it'd be so tight, and Skinner said, no, I'm going to be there, and in the end, it is Skinner who's come off worse. Now, how the stewards deal with that, I'm glad we're not the stewards here, Alex, because otherwise I think we'd have to get our microscopes out, but Dan Skinner will be fuming at that one, but we will wait and see what happens there post-race.
Yeah, I think so. I got a feeling that Danes might not get away with that if I'm putting my steward's cap on, as Dan Skinner had a right to be there. And this is just the view from McNeilly, who had absolutely nowhere to go. And McNeilly, yeah, his luck definitely run out in this race. Not saying he's had all luck and nothing else in this series, definitely not saying that, but you know what, that's actually been a bad race for McNeilly there, and he'll be looking to really pick things up in race 3. He'll be starting quite high up in the order due to the full reverse grid, so he'll definitely get a chance to pick up some big points in the next race, as will Mikey Doble, who ended up finishing 7th in the end in that race. He managed to avoid that incident at the end, but I'll tell you what, let's take a look at the results of that race. It is William Chadwick who takes a win here in the second race, gaining 12 places to get there, and a good result for himself. Chris Danes will finish 2nd place with that drama at the end there with Dan Skinner, but in 3rd place, Jamie Dory takes 3rd place in the end, despite on the penultimate lap, a little bit of contact which sent him down the order. A good comeback on that final lap for him. Aidan Wilson takes 4th position, promoting positions on that final lap there, but 12 places gained throughout the race to get to 4th place. Good job by Aidan Wilson. William Fall is the first of the AM category, and he'll take 5th position overall. 6th position to Michael Lees, 2nd in category, with Mikey Doble gaining back through the order after the first lap dramas to 7th place. Nick Clibbins 8th, with Adam Delmont in 9th position, as we saw Adam Delmont collected in an incident at Brooklands, which set him down the order. As we saw with John Higgins Jr. as well. Liam McNeilly in 11th place with Alan McCain in 12th. Jamie Nicholson 13th. Nigel Stock finishing 14th after his incident earlier on in the race with Liam McNeilly. Rob McGregor 15th with Paul Scott in 16th. Dan James 17th. Dan Skinner in 18th. And Lee Horne will finish 19th after his lap 1 spin. So it's been a very interesting race 2 indeed, but we've got another race awaiting us, ladies and gentlemen. A 25-minute feature race awaits us next up here on Next Gen Racing TV and Crest Autosport TV. I'm Alex Everett and Paul Walsh alongside me. Race 3 coming up very shortly. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone, to Northamptonshire. Very cloudy Northamptonshire on the iRacing sim. And this is the 6th round of the championship in the Next Gen Racing MX-5 Cup. The 6th of 10 rounds in this championship. And this right now will be the final race of the night before we head off and towards next week's round of the championship, which will be at the Snetterton 200 layout on the 20th of June. And of course, for the next 5 weeks, including today, you'll be able to catch us on Crest Autosport TV on Twitch or YouTube, and of course Next Gen Racing TV on Facebook to watch all the racing over the next 5 Mondays here on these channels to conclude the MX-5 Cup as we head into the mid part of summer. Next time out at Snetterton, then we'll be over the pond to Watkins Glen. Then we will be racing on the oval of Daytona Superspeedway, and Le Mans will finish off on the 11th of July. So we've got one more race to go here in the MX-5 Cup here at Silverstone, and quite an interesting first 2 races we've had indeed. But this third race is a longer race, being that it's 25 minutes in length. So tyre conservation will come into play. And of course, it's a lot of battling. We saw battling all the way through the race between certain drivers, and it's going to be like that for 25 minutes in this next race. So, Paul, we're about to head over to the grid, which you'll read through very shortly, but very quickly, for this feature race, Who are you going to put your money on?
Oh, it's a very difficult one, Alex. Well, if I'm going to put my money on in the pro class, I think it may be the case that this time I'm going to put money on Adam Delmont. I know he seems to be cursed here at this circuit, but I'm putting my faith in Adam Delmont. And in the AM class, I'm putting my money on Michael Lees. I think he may pick up the win in this third race.
Ah, well, you've heard it from Paul Walsh first of all, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if he gets the money in. Right, here we go. The grid for race 3.
So, to take you through the grid for this final race of tonight, Lee Horne starting on pole there. The AM driver alongside is joined by the pro pole sitter of Dan Skinner. Row number 2 is made up of Dan James and Paul Scott, followed by Rob McGregor and Nigel Stock on row number 3. Jamie Nicholson and Alan McCain on row 4, followed up by what is John Higgins Jr. and Adam Delmont on row 5. And then it's Nick Clevins and Mikey Doble on row number 6. Behind them we have Michael Lees and William Volt on row number 7, before Aidan Wilson and Jamie Dory make up row number 8, and then it's Chris Daines and William Chadwick who start from the back of the field on row number 9 here in race number 3, and we are only a moments away from going racing.
Yes, we are indeed, and the lights are on the MX-5, so a dusk type race we're going to see here at Silverstone for this final race of the night. Very apt, of course, late in the evening. We're racing now. And of course, we are in week 13 on iRacing, but I have to cut myself short as we're about to get underway in this race. Jamie Nicholson has already jumped to the pits, so something's happened to him, so we've got less drivers starting this race, but we will get underway, and it was a jump start from someone towards the back. I think that might have been Nick Clibbins there, but we're underway here at Silverstone. Lee Horne leads into turn 1, but it's him and Dan Skinner side by side as we go through Cobb's Corner, and Dan Skinner spins it just like what Lee Horne did in race 1, and another spin as well, and that looks like John Higgins Jr. So a very slippery start for some of these drivers, and there's contact already between Nicholson and Dan Skinner as they come out of the pits. It looks like the tyres are struggling very much so on this late night here at Silverstone, but Lee Horne gets better luck than what he did in race 2, and he leads away at the front here. Dan James, who's been very quiet in tonight's racing, second place at the moment alongside Rob McGregor, who's had a great start, 3 places gained already. Adam Delmont, your money was on him, Paul, 6 places gained for him already, as well as Nick Clibbins. As we head towards Luffield Corner, Lee Horne leads the way and is still swapping and changing between Dan James and Rob McGregor. McGregor has the better line through the corner, but there's a spin from here, a half spin from here, and another spin further back from Nick Clibbins, who has spun it off into Luffield Corner and drops from the pack. Michael Lees is heading into the pits as well. It might have been him who actually picked up the jump start there, but it is a very, very dramatic start to this race indeed, Paul.
Oh, indeed. No, I think it's the case. It's such low track temperature right now, and ambient temperature as well, and it's just catching everybody out. You can see everyone going wide there coming out through Cops, and we're only at 18 degrees centigrade now. It is the case that it's really nicely 90 degrees on the track, and until that track temperature builds up with the drivers going around, it's the case they've got to tiptoe around. The tyres just do not have that grip, and that's why we're seeing so many run wide, and I think everyone's racing with the mentality of the conditions that we saw in races 1 and 2, and it's just not there right now. And Dan James, as a result, as he's battling with Adam Delmont. Adam Delmont has just mastered these conditions. He's almost up into P2, and in fact he's there as he makes his way up the inside into Brooklands Corner, and Delmont is absolutely flying right now. It seems as though the colder it gets, and I'm not saying he's cold-hearted or cold-blooded, but he seems to enjoy the cold. He's flying, whereas Chris Daines here, I think, has had a bit of difficulty. I think he's actually understeered a little bit while coming out of Brooklands, and has got to now try and close his way up, as we see there Rob McGregor going very slowly. I think he's just returned from an off-track, Alex.
Yeah, he's pulled over to... Oh, that was strange indeed. Pulled over to the left there, and then he got tagged by Paul Scott, and I think it was Chris Daines as well who made contact with Paul Scott. But it's very strange there. Rob McGregor going very slow on the left there to let by all the cars. This has been a very strange start to this race indeed, but Lee Horne won't mind that. He's at the front here leading the way, but he's got teammate Adam Delmont chasing after him behind. And, well, you definitely want to go to a casino with you one day, Paul, as Adam Delmont looking very good in this race at the moment. William Full, he's been a brilliant, brilliant driver tonight. 10 places gained for him, 4th place at the moment. But he's got William Chadwick, another one of the best drivers of tonight's racing, charging behind. And he's going to take to the inside of William Full here, going into Brooklands. William Full, in a different category, decides not to contend too much. Decides to slot in behind and run behind William Chadwick to follow him along and try and break away from the pack behind. Pulling over to the side there, we saw Michael Lees. He's more than a lap down from these drivers, so a difficult night for Michael Lees in the end, despite the race 1 win and the 2nd place in race 2. This race hasn't quite gone to plan for him. So elsewhere on the track, this is Chris Staines versus Nigel Stock. Nigel Stock into 10th place. Dropped a few places from the start, but he's trying to keep himself out of trouble. That's what I presume he's going to do. Liam McNeilly, by the way, I've just noticed he's not in this race. Liam McNeilly missing from the roster here. He's the only driver who hasn't been able to turn up to this race. And he did say on Discord, Paul, he's having internet difficulties.
Oh, indeed, and we did see him clipping in and out of virtual existence in race number 2, and perhaps he's decided that safety and caution is for the best for all there, because it can be the case when you've got a driver blinking in and out, as we like to refer to it, the latency blink is one of those cases where it unnerves everyone, and perhaps instead he's sitting by the sidelines instead of working with his teammate Chadwick. As we see here, Adam Delmont going for the move versus Lee Horne down to Brooklands up the inside, and Lee Horne not contesting this, and I think Lee Horne really showing smarts here with regards to just simply letting Delmont take the place and then tucking it in behind, because right now these two have got a gap of 1.4 seconds over Dan James, who I can assure you that's not an ant in the distance. It is another Mazda MX-5, it's just how far the gap is. But right now Dan James trying to close up for Rana Motorsport as they make their way down towards the combination of maggots into entry, and right now Dan James at the tip of the spear of the rest of the pursuing pack as they roll on through. And you can see we've got 5 drivers here. We've got Chadwick, Foyle, Doble and Wilson all close together, and then we've also got Danes and Dory gradually inching their way up. And Mikey Doble, after the misfortunes of the previous race, he's gained quite a few places. Actually, he's up into P6. He's gained 6 from the start.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Mikey Doble will see it as, right, one of the Fordzilla drivers are out the way in that he's not in the race. He needs to get himself after the other one. Oh, and there's contact between Lil Foyle and Dan James there. Dan James closes the door on William Foyle, and it sends Foyle around, and he has to wait for the cars to head by. Let's take a quick replay of that to see what happened. It did look like a 3-wide situation heading into the corner. So here we go, and Dan James does run wide and slow there, and he turns back into the corner. William Foyle did not expect him to do that, and that drops Will Foyle well down the order. What was looking like a great night for William Foyle isn't going quite to plan in this race. However, he's still 3rd in category. Still very good points for the driver here.
Oh, indeed, and as he rolls his way on through, he'll also take inspiration from the fact he's latched onto the back of John Higgins Jr. And one thing we have seen in races 1-2, John Higgins Jr. has actually got really strong race pace here at Silverstone, and therefore it could be the case that if Foyle was patient and stays with Higgins Jr., he'll actually be pulled back up and think, we're only just past the opening 5 minutes, we've still got 19 minutes to go, we've got a lot of time, and as we see there, one of our drivers going to start, I think that's McCain just moving out of the way, he's a lap down. It is one of those cases right now where it's not all said and done, so long as you're on that lead lap and you are still running in a car that is working, there's not major damage on the car, you'll be in the fight. And William Chadwick is showing this as well, and the fact that he's cleared Dan James and is now chasing down Lee Horne and Adam Delmont, and that gap is now 1.1 seconds. He is bringing it down very gradually as we ride on the bumper here of the Team Fordzilla MX-5 as they make the way on to another lap.
Absolutely, and Chadwick charging towards the top 2 next-gen drivers here. They'll definitely be working together right now. Adam Delmont and Lee Horne trying to keep away from William Chadwick for as long as possible. Lee Horne will want to do it to hang on to 1st in category. Because of his retirement in race 2, he needs the points at the top of the category here. Adam Delmont needs the points to get his pro category championship back on track. So they are really going to be desperate to stay ahead of William Chadwick here. So let's just keep an eye on things as they escalate. We got Mikey Doble here on the inside of Dan James. We head towards Brooklands corner. This may well be position 2. Mikey Doble as he breaks much later than Dan James heading into Brooklands and through into 4th place. We've also got Chris Daines, who undoubtedly pulled off one of the greatest moves we've seen of the season in race 2. He's heading up the field here, 11 places gained up to 6th place, charging towards his teammate, and I assume it won't be much contention between the 2 drivers there as they head towards the top end of the field. I mean, there are safety cars that could be considered to throw a curveball into this race at some point. You never know. You absolutely never know. So let's have a quick recap of the field as things are. Delmont at the front, leading the pros at 2nd place overall, and leading the AM category is Lee Horne. William Chadwick, who's caught up with the top 2 here, 3rd place. Mikey Doble 4th with Dan James in 5th place. Chris Staines following behind in 6th. Aidan Wilson 7th, Jamie Dory 8th, Nigel Stock 2nd in the AMs but 9th overall, and Nick Clibbins in 10th. And in the Pro Category 8th. Heading into Brooklands corner and past Lee Horne goes William Chadwick to take second position. Horne doesn't fight too much there, Paul, and it's because, one, he's got to keep hold of his first placing category, and two, he probably just realises Chadwick's much quicker than me, I'm just going to latch onto the back of him here.
Oh, definitely, and I think the body language of Lee Horne's car said it all there, particularly on that second point, Alex, just in terms of the fact, I think he's accepted the fact that even if he wanted to battle with the pro driver and perhaps keep our #1 driver in this field at the moment at bay, it was going to be a question of when, not if, he'd be passed, because they make the way out of Copston down towards Maggots once again. Now, Adam Delmont will have the hardest work cut out for him, and I think he might be thinking, oh, come on, Lee, you could have held him up a little bit longer than that, surely. But joking aside, it is the case that Chadwick looking up the inside as they make the way for Aintree. And well, right now, Delmont really feeling that pressure. Is a little bit further back. I believe that Dane's battling with Doble in the battle for P4. And well, as they come on down here, I think Doble might just have an eyebrows. I think we've got 3 wide there. And that is between Aidan Wilson, Dan James, and also Jamie Dorian. I think all 3 drivers there just giving a little bit of tap to one another and saying to each other, no, actually, I have the space, thank you very much. As Dan James on the inside. And well, he makes that work. And Dan James back up into P6 and a very nice trail break into Brookfield and then into Brooklands. And into Luffield there, Alex. He really is coming back, Dan James, after what's been a little bit of a topsy-turvy start to this race.
It has, yeah. It's been a bit to and fro, a bit back and forth for Dan James, but he's in a strong position here. Held off Aidan Wilson quite well. There's a little bit of contact on the Wellington straight, granted, but to the inside goes Aidan Wilson, and very, very deep into the corner there goes Dan James. Did look like a very delayed turn into the corner then. It's allowed Jamie Dory to the inside and through. So Dan James losing a few more positions here at this point in the race as we're ticking over 10 minutes. He's fighting back on Jamie Dory, is Dan James, but Dory has the outside to power it around the corner here and get it back in front of Dan James. There was contact between the two and they just about keep things going, but Jamie Dory just about keeps things going and still maintains the run on Aidan Wilson as he takes to the inside at Brooklands. Into the corner he goes. He's got the inside, but he may not have the inside going into Luffield. He will not. Holding on to it will be Aidan Wilson. And Jamie Dory's got to be very careful. He doesn't allow Dan James back to his inside, which he does. Dan James needs to get a good run out of the corner here, but he doesn't. Dory maintains 7th place, and he's got to think of something else to get ahead of Aidan Wilson. Back at the front here. We have seen, I think this may have been a very recent swap of positions between Adam Delmont and Chadwick, but this is the move again into Brooklands, and we saw this in race 1, Paul, where people just swap and change positions going down the Wellington straight to try and make their car as fast as possible by drafting and then letting the car by, and then on the next straight they do it all again. It's very, very tactical here at Silverstone.
It is indeed, Alex, and I think it's the case they're trying to outtrade what we see on the stock market floor with regards to back and forth trade of the shares, but here is the case they're sharing positions, but whilst they're doing that now, when we get to those final 5 minutes, I think that back and forth trade and it may cease, so we see a full-blown market war between the two of them where they'll want to both take that lead position, and right now Chadwick, I don't think will mind being the leader. I think he will feel that he naturally has that pace advantage of a couple of attempts, albeit those couple of attempts don't really mean too much, as we talked about in qualifying, with the fact that in the race, so long as you're in the toe, that advantage you have is mitigated considerably. But right now, we can see that Chadwick in that lead position and Delmont tucking in very close behind. And we are seeing that across the field now, where we have our packs. We have our top 3, and then we have our 4th and 5th battle between Doble and Danes. But everybody starts to fall into line of stern and think about that bigger picture of, I want to work with you to get to that lead pack. Because you can imagine, if this top 3 start fighting with 5 minutes to go, and that 1.7 second gap between Doble and Danes comes down, and Aidan Wilson is able to pull P6 through to what is P9 up to it, we could have a 9-way battle for the lead again.
Absolutely. But let's have a brief chat here about Chadwick's position in this race right now. His teammate's not here, who was leading the championship heading into tonight. And let's not forget that McNeilly has had a few other races where the results haven't quite been in his favour. In particular, there was a bad result at Brands Hatch, a bad result at Knockhill as well. Not a great result in race 3 at Red Bull Ring. Chadwick will seize the opportunity here despite his teammate falling short in this race, but Chadwick will also be thinking about Mikey Doble. Staying 2 positions clear of Mikey Doble will definitely be at the top of Chadwick's mind. Points, points, points. That's what he wants on his rivals. Delmont might not be worrying Chadwick at this point in the championship, because Delmont is quite far down the order, rather unfortunately, despite the capability of Delmont. But that's what Chadwick will be wanting to do. He won't want to compromise his pace too much for track position. He'll definitely want to be maintaining that gap over Mikey Doble back here in 4th place. But you've got to say, Paul, these two here of Mikey Doble and Chris Staines are working together very well to try and catch back up to these top runners.
Oh, indeed, and there is a saying which is the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and it applies here very much to the fact that these two in a way have formed a bit of an informal truce, which is that Mikey Doble leads the pair of them and Chris Staines tucks in behind. And I think after what has been quite a few hot-headed moments that drivers experience, and Chris Staines has had a couple, we could say potentially in race number 2 in particular, now they're all settling down here, and I think that red mist has gone away for the time being. It may come back a little bit later, and instead they are focusing, and you're right, Alex, the fact that these two working together, they are gradually bringing that gap to lead us down. It's now come down to 1.5 seconds. It's taken a couple of laps to knock off 2 temps, but it is very gradually coming on down. And as they get closer and closer, this is where now Chris Staines has to start to think about, okay, I've worked with Mikey Doble for this long, but when do I start to push to get ahead of him? When I start trying to battle to get into the lead of the group? And we are almost at the 15-minute marks, where we have 10 minutes remaining shortly, and now that question starts to get to the top of your mind. It's like, okay, time's running down. I haven't got that long left, as Delmont and Chadwick are exchanging places here in the run down into Brooklands. And these little swaps here, you can see Chadwick staying on that outside to inside line here, and Chadwick not letting this go. And by doing so, what he's trying to say to Delmont is, I'm not going to let you lead this race. But Delmont wants to lead now because he knows what's coming. I think he's seen on the timing board that Doble and Daines are getting closer, and he's ready to bring them into the fight.
Absolutely, he's getting himself ready for potential inevitability that Mikey Doble and Chris Staines will join this battle eventually. He's got Lee Horne as coverage as well. Let's not forget that. But this is a battle that's going to be one that exists between these top 5 drivers very closely very soon. Now I want to revert back to a replay as something happened to Dan James just a moment ago. So Dan James, oh, he was just ahead there. Contact between Jamie Dory and Dan James. Let's get another replay there. There we go. So watching Dan James in the blue, yellow and black car. Very late braking going into Maggot's corner, trying to avoid it on the inside. Oh, and there was contact between Jamie Dory and the HSR car ahead, which might have been Aidan Wilson, but then contact between Dory and James there ultimately puts them well down the order in 12th and 13th now. Right, here we go. It is getting close. Lee Horne lets Mikey Doble through almost. Lee Horne is thinking at this point, points in the championship. He wants to stay well away from Nigel Stock in 2nd place in the category, so he lets the two go. Mikey Doble and Chris Staines have pretty much now been released onto William Chadwick and Adam Delmont. I tell you what, this is kind of a carbon copy of what we saw in race 1, with the exception of Liam McNeilly not being in this battle here, Paul. It has really got... They've done very well to get to this position, these 4 drivers have, and we still got 8 minutes of racing remaining.
Oh, indeed, 100%, Alex. And, well, Lee Horne there making it very clear that he doesn't want to be a part of this. He'll just sit and watch, thank you very much, as they make their way down the Wellington Straight. And already Mikey Doble tucking in behind Adam Delmont. And much like it was the case in race number 1, Mikey Doble having to work with a non-Team Fordzilla driver as he looks to try and gain the lead. They roll their way into Brooklands here. Chris Staines a little bit further back as all the rear brake discs light up, of course, with the brake bias being heavily mounted towards the rear in these cars to get that rotation under brake. And all the drivers trying to work the car furiously, and as they make their way out of Luffield and heading around once again, it is the case as they come to the end of this lap. We can see William Chadwick now find himself on that outside line here with Mikey Doble giving Delmont a little bit of a push in order to try and get... Oh, there's contact between the 3 of them there. I think they all came a bit too close together.
Yeah, it was very close then. Nearly got out of shape between the 3 of them, but they managed to keep it going with excellent car control. As we head towards Maggot's corner, Mikey Doble did have a good run there, but I think Chris Staines had an even better run. Could he do it again like what he did in race 2? No, he can't. He sticks behind them, and Chadwick took to the outside, choosing that line, and was able to get across and onto the inside at Maggot's corner. Heading out of Aintree and onto the Wellington Straight we go. Chadwick still leads. He's held on to the lead for the longest of all these drivers, I think. But Mikey Doble joining the battle here. He definitely want to get himself to the front as soon as possible, because we know at this track, Paul, leading is much easier than chasing.
Oh, indeed. And as they roll the way on through here, if you have that lead position, you can make your car a little bit wider, and therefore you can really force your opponents to have to pick a particular line. And we've seen Chadwick do that a number of times, particularly once they come out of the first corner and the run down towards Maggots and Aintree. He puts the car in the middle of the road, and that intentionally splits the driver, because as we see here, they come into turn number 1. Chadwick will cover off the inside. He'll make Delmont go a little bit wider into the corner. Delmont will have the run, but notice now Chadwick will peel the car into the middle of the road, and what this does, it makes it hard for Doble, because Doble's got to think, does he commit on the inside and essentially put himself at risk of spearing the drivers off the road, because that inside line does not offer as much grip. And as they make their way down, Doble there with a little bit of tap to Delmont, and Chris Daines comes right up the inside there and says, thank you for the space, I'll take a P3.
Yeah, absolutely. Easy pickings there for Chris Daines. Took the opportunist moment to take Mikey Doble a little bit of a tap on the rear of Adam Delmont, and that helped Chris Daines gain the position. And that might have helped, actually, Adam Delmont power his way around the corner as he's got himself alongside William Chadwick. His nose ahead here. He might not gain the position at Luffield here as he's on the outside, but Adam Delmont did make good use of a very tricky situation there, which was he got out of shape and had to power his way through the corner to get back up towards William Chadwick here. Here we go side by side again as we head across the line. Just over 5 minutes to go. We'll have about 6 laps remaining in this race here at Silverstone National Circuit. Doble looking all ways to try and make his way alongside or past the drivers ahead. He's finding it very tricky as they're defending very, very well. A good run out of the corner here from Mikey Doble. Might be able to take it to the inside. No, he is in fact nowhere near getting to the inside just yet. He's got to try something else. Chadwick to the inside of Delmont. Delmont's got to power it around the outside here. Doble with an undercut here. And we could see Delmont was thinking about the undercut as well on William Chadwick. But Doble was already there. Put his car in the right place at the right time. On the outside is Mikey Doble. Can he power around the outside of Brooklands? He takes to the braking zone by moving his car over to the right. Powers it into the braking zone. He's alongside Delmont, but not Chadwick. Into Luffield he goes. He's on the inside of Delmont, so you'll gain to second place here. That's one done, and he has to work on the next here. However, Adam Delmont is not giving this up. He may be on the outside, but we've seen from Delmont tonight, he's so good at powering that car around the outside on this track. And he's able to hang on to these positions up here. Blocking the inside there is William Chadwick, but I think Mikey Doble's taken to the inside, heading into Cobb's corner. Yes, he does. On the curb goes Mikey Doble, and he's on the inside of Chadwick, heading up towards Maggots again for another time on this track. I think it's about 21 laps we've done. Into the corner we go. Daines is trying to slot it in the middle now, but can't quite make it. Delmont is a bit isolated on the outside there. Chadwick is in a bit of trouble there on the outside too. Doble needs a good run down the Wellington Straight here to take the outside, going into Brooklands. Take it away for this next part here, Paul.
Oh, indeed. Thank you, Alex. And as Doble here tries to hold that outside line, William Chadwick really showing his ability to go side by side as Chris Daines tries to go all the way down the outside of the pair of them, but loses the momentum, and Delmont moves into the space. But now Delmont finds himself on the outside through Luffield, and as they roll the way on through, Mikey Doble hooked on that apex curve and hold off Delmont, but Delmont not out of this battle yet. And William Chadwick right now very well playing the other drivers off against one another, and it does look as though Chadwick just able to keep ahead. We thought for a moment then Mikey Doble may have the run for the lead, but it's not to be. And now 3 minutes on the clock as they make the way, and it's 4 wide into turn 1, and Chris Daines at the inside. There's contact between the 3 of them.
4 wide heading into Cobb's corner, and they don't make it through, rather surprisingly. Chris Daines made it 4 wide heading into the corner. It's shuffled up the order a little bit here. Chadwick has broken away with Lee Horne right behind him, who slots into second place. Mikey Doble is just about hung on to that top pack there, but Daines and Delmont have dropped off a little bit here. I wonder if we can see a quick replay of that heading into Cobb's corner there. I'll see if I can grab it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not quite sure. This might be it. Let's see if... Oh, this was a bit early. Yeah, a bit early. Let's go back a little bit further. See if we can catch it very quickly before we resume the racing. Here we go. Makes it 4 wide, Chris Daines does. And heading into Cobb's corner. Yeah, it was going to understeer into them there, but no driver apart from Will Chadwick gave that up then. Chadwick's the only one who gave that corner up, and he actually promoted from it. He ended up in first place in the end because he just knew what was going to happen. That is the kind of clever driving we see from William Chadwick all season long here, Paul.
Oh, indeed. And well, in that replay there, that's the one thing I was watching what William Chadwick did. And he knew about 50 metres before the corner that was the case that Ford does not go into too wide at most. And he backed out completely. And I must admit, Mikey Doble, I thought he would have backed out, but in the end, he kept his nose in and ended up being caught into what was a triangle of cars effectively. And as they make the way now down the Wellington Straight, Mikey Doble still in this battle. Lee Horne also pitching in behind, but the AM driver just watching here and waiting to see if the two leaders knock one off. He'd like to take the win overall and as well as in the AM class, but right now we have one more lap after this current one, and William Chadwick holding on to that lead and Mikey Doble staying with him. Delmont and Danes are 1.8 seconds back. They're trying to close up in the battle for P4, but I think they might have a bit of an isolated battle now as a bit further down the order. Jamie Dory has moved up to P10 briefly. No, in fact, it's Rob McGregor now. It's all kicking off a bit further back, but we stay focused here on the leaders as they go to the final lap, and it is the case. We can see there Chadwick holding that inside line. Doble swinging in behind, trying to get up the inside, but he can't, so instead he has to go round the outside here. Ooh. And Mikey Doble now having to show that class, which has made him a reigning champion as they make the way through. But Lee Horne gets up the inside, and as they roll their way down in towards Maggot's corner, it is the case. Lee Horne backs out. Mikey Doble tucks in, but there's no attempt at a move here. They all stay in a line. I think it's the case that Doble's going to have to wait for the final couple of corners if he's going to go for it. But Chadwick taking a very tight exit there, breaking the toe early, then weaving a little bit here just to disrupt the toe even further. This will just keep her ahead for a little bit longer. Doble is getting close enough as they make their way to Brooklands. He takes a peek, but he decides not to go for it here. I think he's going to look to drag race it to a line as Chadwick here gets a nice run. Doble following through, but Chadwick still holding on, and Doble takes a peek to the inside. It's a little bit of contact there, and well, I think Doble trying to find some space, but in the end he wasn't able to find it, and Chadwick covers it off very well, keeps the car pointed in a straight line. Well, it's the case that after battling for 25 minutes, William Chadwick is going to make it to the line. First and foremost, your winner as he takes the checker flag, overwinning the Pro class. Mikey Doble P2 and Lee Horne, our AM winner, makes it on to the overall podium in P3 ahead of Adam Delmont and Chris Danes. Nigel Stock coming home in P6 behind them, with then Nick Clemens, John Higgins Jr., William Foyle P9, and then in P10 Rob McGregor, and it's Stock and Foyle who complete that AM podium. My goodness, Alex, what a way to end tonight's racing.
Oh, it's fantastic indeed. A little bit of drama peppered in there as well. Absolutely love that. Fantastic racing tonight from William Chadwick. Normally we have a discussion about who our driver of the day tonight, Paul, who is Paul, but honourable mentions certainly need to go to William Foyle. He's had a good night indeed. Chris Danes for his move in race 2 certainly does need to mention, but William Chadwick has had a podium in race 1 and 2 wins on the trot in race 2 and 3. Would you agree he gets our driver of the day award?
100%. And what separates him from the rest of the drivers, and this is not to be derogatory towards the other drivers, he's just shown that race intelligence throughout, particularly that 4 wide into turn 1 where he backed out so early. He knew it was going to go wrong and he backed out and took the lead, and that is why he's your winner in race number 3 and why for me he's our driver of the day, because he's just shown that one step ahead logic.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that's a very, very important point you drew upon there. He was the only one out of this battle here. He's the second from the right there. He's the only one who stamps on the brakes to let the drivers cut up ahead. That is just pure instinct that winners have in motorsport. And he gets himself the win as a result of just... It was almost a bit of a gamble, but you know what? It's very intelligent play from William Chadwick there. Absolutely brilliant. Right, so
fantastic. Well, back to you, Alex.
Let's head into the results of this race before we head off for some interviews. William Chadwick with the second win of the night. A good haul of points in the championship here. Mikey Doble in second place. Again, it's been a good performing night for Mikey Doble. Second place for him, a good haul of points for him. Lee Horne picks up an AM category win after what has been a... It's been a bit of a topsy-turvy night for Lee Horne, but he'd be pleased with that win in the category and third place overall. He probably got the best view of that battle at the end there. Chris Danes, fourth place for him, after making it a 4 wide, making the excitement in race 2 with a brilliant move, and starting, should I say, the 4 wide in that third race there. He finishes 4th place in the end. Nigel Stock, 5th place, second in category. You'd be very pleased with that, considering Nigel Stock qualified last in qualifying earlier on in the night. 5th place and 2nd place in category in this race, he'll be pleased with. Nick Libb in 6th position of Syntec XI iRacing, with John Higgins in 7th position. William Fall taking 2nd in the AM category and 8th overall. A good performing night for William Fall. Rob McGregor in 9th place with Aidan Wilson 10th. Jamie Dory will take 11th after the contact he had earlier on in the race. Dan James 12th position from Dan Skinner in 13th. Adam Delmont, who ended up being pushed down the order due to that incident earlier on in the race. 15th for Jamie Nicholson, 16th to Paul Scott, Michael Lee 17th, Alan McCain 18th, and a reminder that Liam McNeilly did not make the start of this race due to his internet difficulties. Well, what a race we have witnessed tonight, and we're going to go back to the start of this race to watch it through from views from various drivers on the grid, and we are going to talk to some drivers now. So how about we talk to, first and foremost, our driver of the day, Paul. Would you like to speak to him?
Oh, I would love to speak to Will Chadwick. He's there in the interview waiting room, and well, just trying to pull him in. But it doesn't look as though I have the rights to do so at the moment.
Yeah,
so
neither have I. Yeah.
So give me a brief moment. I'm going to have a chat to our Discord admin and see if we can get him to just chuck over Will Chadwick into our commentary room.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're waiting for administrative duties to be handled behind the scenes, a little bit of a recap of tonight's racing. Liam McNeilly won race 1, of course, and in the AM category, Michael Lease won race 1. In race 3, William Chadwick took the win in the pro category, and it was a win for William Foyle in the AM category in race 2 for the AM category. And in the third race here, Lee Horne taking a win in the AM category. Despite starting pole position, he dropped 2 overall positions, but he covered it off to finish first in his category. And William Chadwick, another win outright and in category. Quite the night we have seen, and our driver of the day, of course, going to William Chadwick. And we're here now with William Chadwick. What a night it has been for yourself, Will, and a pure bit of genius towards the end there, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Just tell us how you're feeling after tonight's racing overall.
Wasn't bad, was it? Wasn't bad. Back at another glorified oval.
Yeah, glorified oval indeed, but it's certainly presented some exciting racing for us tonight, particularly that 4 wide situation we saw towards the end of race 3 there. Kind of 2 questions in one here as usual for myself. 1, what were your initial thoughts when it became a 4 wide? And 2, talk us through your decision making, because ultimately it won you the race.
Well, I mean, I was watching my mirror. I obviously could see, you know, Chris and everyone getting a bit racy, and I thought maybe Chris had pushed me, because like as we go into turn 1, Chris is like in the position to push me. He then dives to the inside. As soon as he dives to the inside, a couple seconds later, I go like 90% brake. I just dive out of it because I'm like, crash. That's all I think in my head. And with Chris coming on the inside, just not quite, you know, he's on a very shallow angle, and them guys not necessarily knowing it's 4 wide, it was always going to be contact in my opinion. So that's why I just dove out the way and kept the car clean. And you know, that type of decision making can win you the races like it did today.
Absolutely did win it for you today, and a big surge through the field of 17 places gained. But talking about Fordzilla as a whole tonight, Liam McNeilly sadly missing out on the 3rd race tonight. But surely, you know, races are races, and we all want to win for ourselves. But surely this puts you in good stead for the championship, given that Liam did not have the night that he would have wanted, and you've picked up 2 wins tonight.
I think it's going to be interesting, because I think everyone has to keep a drop round in mind for the Daytona race, because I think the Daytona Oval, literally anyone will win that race. It does not matter. You can get, obviously I think the quicker guys will be up the front from pure strategy and knowing how to place the car, but apart from that, it's going to be an absolute free-for-all, so you really have to keep just a drop round already in mind, just in case that round goes to shit for you. Sorry for swearing, that's my bad actually. Just in case it goes really wrong for you. But yeah, you want to keep that in mind. So yeah, it's still early. You see how much it can swing in one of those final rounds. Those final triple points rounds, you have one bad race, you get a massive bit of contact, and you don't get the safety cars going your way. You can lose the championship on the dot. Like if you're within 75 points, you're within a chance in the final round.
first of all, please put some coins in the jar for us, William.
I will do.
But but yeah, it's talking about that Daytona race. We've kind of alluded to it a couple of times when we talk about the schedule, but it is a little bit of a lottery, that 9th round of the championship. But we were talking about it earlier on. The races coming up in this part of the season, we got Snetterton 200 layout, which is the outer loop. And I think the Watkins Glen Cup layout is the shorter and simplified layout. And we've got Le Mans, which is granted a large track, but a very, very flat out track. It's very much a different kettle of fish in this second half of the season. And are these tracks that you particularly favour at this end of the season?
I mean, as a championship contender, you definitely have to say no, on the pure basis of I don't think that any of those tracks necessarily provide the opportunity for you to break the toe, aside of potentially Snetterton due to the complex last sector, maybe. But I think Le Mans, you've got too much long straights. Obviously, you've got Indianapolis, Arnage, Porsche Curves, Ford Chicane, where you might be able to get a little bit of a gap out, and maybe slowdowns will play a part potentially if you're pushing someone out wide. But yeah, it's going to be really close to the end of the season. It's just going to be all about keeping that nose clean, praying that your Daytona isn't too bad and that you keep it pretty clean, and just keeping a level head at all times and choosing the right decisions and keeping your car alive.
Excellent stuff. Well, you got our Driver of the Day award, as you probably heard as well. But before you head off here, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Friends, family, sponsors, etc.
Well, thank you very much for that Driver of the Day award. I really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you to Team Fordzilla. Thank you to Next Level Racing. Thank you to the management at Fordzilla, Jose, Katrina, Beth, any of those guys. Thank you to Liam for always being amazing company, and I hope to see him back next round. I'm sure we will.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Will. We'll
and
see you next.
Thank you for you guys as well, and also the league organisers. Not miss that.
Yeah, big thank you to the organisers, as per usual. Great work behind the scenes. But great work to yourself, Will, tonight. Take away those 2 wins and Drive of the Day. We'll see you next time at Snetterton.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Nice chap, Will is. Everyone's a nice chap in this league, of course, aren't they, Paul? But yeah, a purely brilliant bit of thinking from Will there. That might be one of the moments in the season that could put Chadwick as a champion-elect eventually. We don't know what's going to happen later in the season, but we could look back at that moment and think, you know what, that really did do it for Will.
Oh, indeed. I think we're going to be reflecting on it for some time, just given the fact that everything seems to go right today for Chadwick versus the rest of the field. Not to say it's over yet, but he has definitely now given himself an advantage, which everybody's now going to be really having to go up against in order to be able to bring that championship back into contention. It's not over, but I think for Chadwick tonight, he'll go away from this one silently, thinking that he's now starting to get his hands on the trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, okay, second interview. Who's up next for yourself, Paul? I have to say sorry, because I said you'll interview Will, but I ended up interviewing Will. So who do you want to interview next?
Well, I think it'd only be appropriate if we did hear from Mikey Doble, and whilst I can't drag him in, I will ask our admins to throw him on over, but I know that Mikey had a very mixed fortunes tonight in terms of his races, but then coming home at P2 in race number 3, so ending on a high by the looks of things.
Absolutely.
And as he joins us in the commentary box now, Mikey, a round of mixed fortunes here at Snetterton, not Snetterton, my apologies, we're jumping ahead of the curve here, at Silverstone National, but in the end coming away with a P2 in race number 3. A positive end to the night, or still mixed feelings?
A little bit mixed feelings. Would have been nice to get a win, but I think 2 second places and a 7th, when consider the trouble that some of the other front runners got into, is a good night for the championship nonetheless.
Oh, indeed. And well, 3 podium finishes overall in a night which really saw the racing be all about knowing when to get to the head of the pack and when to be battling side by side. And just take us through, because we saw you right in the middle of a good number of battles, particularly races 1 and 2, but also some smart teamwork between yourself and Chris Daines in race number 3. You really had to have your head on a swivel in this race to know when was the right time to fight and when not to.
Yeah, because sometimes you can fight with someone and you're not really gaining much of an advantage from it. Sometimes you're better off sitting in line if you're you've got you and someone else who's the same sort of speed and trying to catch people in front. And then once we got within the slipstream of the leaders, once they started battling, it was race on from there, so we could actually catch up and start mixing it up with them.
Well, indeed, and I do have to ask, with regards to race number 3 in particular, we did see that infamous 4-wide moment going into Copse Corner, yourself being found right in the middle as Chadwick backed out, and then it was the middle ground for yourself, and you managed to survive the main brunt of the impact there. Just take us through that from your experience, because it was a very dramatic moment. I think everyone had their hearts in the mouth, including yourself.
Yeah, I certainly did. I think it was starting to get a bit racy, bit too racy really, the last couple of laps before that, and the slipstream down the start and finish straight is so big, and it was getting darker as well, so it was becoming harder to judge moves. And I think Chris just got such a big run coming down the straight, he didn't really know what to do with it and didn't want to waste it, so he obviously misjudged his braking point and yeah, did a bit of a sort of Hamilton move into Copse Corner.
Indeed, but in terms of the wider championship, obviously Chadwick has picked up the majority of the points in the Pro Class night, but some good finishes from yourself. And then in the case of Liam McNeilly, we did see 2 finishes, but also what was a retirement before he made his way to the grid in race number 3. It seems as though now you're the primary contender to be taking that fight to William Chadwick going for the rest of this season. How do you feel your position in the championship stands with 4 more rounds to go?
I think I'm going to be a little bit under the radar for the championship because I missed a round early doors, so on the gross sort of points table at the moment I'm not as close as I would be if drop scores were taken into effect. I think once the drop scores happen I'll be pretty equal with them. It's all about being in with a chance going into the last race, because obviously the last race is triple points, so as long as you're within sort of 30 odd points of the leader going in, it's sort of anyone's to play for that last race to take the championship. But I think Liam was having some internet issues in race 2. I'm not sure if that was one of the reasons he didn't come back for race 3 or because he lost his head. I'm not sure, but hopefully he'll come back for the remaining rounds and we'll be able to have a good dice for the title.
Oh, indeed, and we do look forward to that dice as it continues. And speaking of the continuation, it is the case we go to the Snetterton 200 circuit in a week's time. How are you feeling for the Norwich-based circuit?
I like Snetterton in real life and on the sim. Not done so much around the 200, although we did do it in one of our earlier Legends series. So I've got some experience, and I think there's going to be a lot of slipstreaming again with the 2 long straights, so I'm sure the racing is going to be frantic as always, and there's a lot of tight, narrow overtaking opportunities, which is going to lend to some contact, I'm sure. So I'm sure it's worth tuning in for next week, because it's going to be close.
Oh, indeed, and we look forward to seeing how you get on in a week's time. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to say thank you to or give a shout out to on the stream?
Yeah, so family sitting downstairs watching, hopefully they've enjoyed it. Grandparents, auntie and uncle are actually over in south of France at the moment, so hopefully they've managed to get some connection to watch tonight's racing. Yeah, and thanks to you guys for putting on a great coverage again. Can't wait to watch it back this evening.
Well, it is our pleasure, Mikey, and indeed I think all your family will be appreciative of your kind words. But with that, congratulations on your trio of podium finishes this evening, and we look forward to seeing you out on circuit again in a week's time.
Yep, cheers guys.
All the best. But hearing there, Alex, from Mikey Doble, and well, it was the case that in the end, a bit of mixed feelings as we heard from Mikey himself there with regards to the battles, and in the end perhaps missing out on 1 or 2 results that he would have preferred to go his way. But still, I think he can take quite a few positives from today.
Yeah, I think so. I've said it on pretty much every single broadcast we've done of Next Gen, but I like to compare Mikey Doble to Andy Priaulx. Andy Priaulx won the World Touring Car Championship by not winning races, granted won a few, but he would score points. Points were the priority every single time, whereas other drivers were squabbling for wins and personal accolades and that sort of thing. Priaulx was mature enough to just pick up points when he didn't let his head get the better of him. That is what Mikey Doble is good at in this championship. He picks up points, and I think he would be I think the drop rounds are going to be applied for these first 6 rounds after tonight, so I think we'll get a good scope of it heading into Snetterton next week of how things will look after the drop rounds, because it's quite hard to gauge without it. So that'll give Mikey Doble a good scope of how he is doing. And to be honest, looking at it, I think he will be within 10 points ahead or behind of Liam McNeilly and William Chadwick, because there's been some rounds where Chadwick hasn't quite done as well as Mikey Doble. There's been rounds where McNeilly has had like the odd race where he's just dropped a lot of positions, like looking at Red Bull Ring, he went first and then 8th. Knock Hill, he went 2nd, 3rd and 10th. Brands Hatch, he went 1st, 12th, 1st. I think Mikey Doble has just had more level positions across the season. Every single race he's finished in the top 5, in fact. That's how consistent he's been. So I think that's going to reward Mikey Doble come crunch time later in the season. But yeah, he's doing very, very well considering he's got tough competition this season.
Indeed. But as we look to him and to the next interviewee, who are you thinking, Alex, for our next interviewee?
I'm going to let you do in the interview again, Paul, because you're better than I am. But I reckon an AM driver.
Well, I think it would be only appropriate if we're looking for one of our AMs that we do pick Lee Horne then, who had an absolutely sensational run of form. And as we do bring him into the comms box here, Lee, it's the case. It ended on a high tonight with a win in race number 3. The first 2 races, however, a bit of a challenge by comparison, but a positive night on the whole.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, good evening, lads. Yeah, first race, I sort of went backwards a little bit. I don't know what happened to my pace. I felt reasonably confident, just coming in relaxed and thinking, right, I know who my rivals are. Keep an eye on those. And yeah, they came past me and it wasn't too great. So I sort of thought, right, okay, I'll get a good grid, or a better grid result, be in front of them for race 2. Let's go at it, because I finished 12th, so I was 3rd on the grid. And I threw it all away, all on my own with my cold tyres on corner 1. I hopefully didn't catch on the strings. That's rather embarrassing that I threw it off all on my own accord and then had to tow back to the pits because I had damage. So that was that done and dusted. But however, yes, taking the pole spot for race 3 was my opportunity to try and capitalise on a single good result for the evening. And I thoroughly enjoyed racing with those pro boys. I could sit behind them nicely, but I can't sit in front of them. I'm not quick enough. But I can use their draft and sit with them, and watching them not jinx around each other and battle as hard as they did up to the point of that incident that they had in corner 1 was just so enjoyable. And I was so relaxed sat behind them all. I just kept lifting and coasting, and as you probably saw, when they came up to me, I thought, well, I'm not going to fight in battle here. I want to stay with them, use them to stay ahead of my rivals, and hopefully stick with them, which I did, and that was really, really enjoyable. I hope the stream looked as good as it felt for me watching it from right behind them.
Oh, indeed. And we did spot in the cockpit of your Mazda MX-5, you did seem to have quite a large bucket of popcorn in race number 3 where you were watching the battle between the pro drivers. But joking aside and whatnot, we did hear from yourself just there, and something we were talking about, particularly at the start of race number 3, about track temperature and cold tyres. We saw, obviously, what happened to yourself in the early races, but also so many drivers running wide and a number of drivers having spins in race number 3. Just how important was tyre temperature and track temperature today over the 3 races?
Well, as I obviously discovered to my negative side, it was a huge impact. Because we raced on into the day, through into the evening, the temperatures dropped, so it took longer for the tyres to be warmer, or get warm, sorry. And also, when you first started off, they were even colder than they were the previous race before. So obviously I didn't account for that race too, and hence I was going around in 3rd gear as usual, and you could just hear and feel it start to go. I got off of it and saved the first part, but then it kicked on me. But everyone was in the same boat. If you didn't really remember how much colder it was to start with, and you could have got to build that temperature up, it could very, very easily bit you. And as it saw with everybody else, that first 2 laps in race 3, while I was leading, I was tiptoeing round. Not even half throttle sometimes on some of the sharper corners, because I was absolutely sort of pooping myself, as in I just didn't want to spin. It was such a delicate exercise until you got some warmth in those tyres.
Oh, indeed. And with the warmth and the tyres being able in the end to keep the car firm and stable. And I do have to ask you, with regards to your rivals in the AM Championship, obviously going into tonight, you were second place in the class. And we did see a very difficult night for Alan McCain in the end, having a difficult day of racing. But one driver who really did show a lot of pace, but wasn't able to get a consistent string of results, Michael Lees. Are you worried about him, given the pace he has been showing, particularly at Spa, where he was on course to be the fastest AM driver, only to have that major moment into the water Spa?
Yeah, he's looked quick many times throughout the season, along with Jamie, who I raced with for a bit in race 1, and I felt they probably had a bit of an edge on me. I know I initially started in the pro category because of winning last season, but ultimately I think Jamie was a little bit optimistic to think that my skills were good enough to compete with the pros, which they're not. You can see that. I'm battling fairly with the higher level amateurs, whereas when I was in with the pros, it wasn't. So yeah, those guys, I'm not worried as such, as in that I'm just really enjoying this league again, and I've approached it through having not such good times in some other leagues recently, with a very much more relaxed attitude, as I just come on to race in the evening and just see how it goes, not take it too seriously. And it seems to have worked, because our racing's improved over the last couple of weeks and rounds in the different series I've been racing in, and yeah, it's I'm all for the competition, and if we could be as close as we can with the other AMs in the top level here, then that'd be great.
Oh, indeed, and we're really glad to hear that you're enjoying the racing and being able to relax into the racing, which is so important in these MX-5s. And looking ahead to a week's time, we head to Snetterton 200. We go to Norwich. How are you feeling for the circuit for round number 7?
Yeah, I've always liked Snetterton. It's a really good track. I think, again, we're going to need to be very conscientious about the temperature of the tyres as we go through into the late afternoon. I think it'll be very much like what Silverstone's been, and we're going to need to tiptoe around, certainly for race 3, and be more, and I'll be more vigilant for race 2, of course. And being the 200 layout, it's going to be a quick lap again. It's taking out all the midfield section. So after corner 2, the hairpin will be going straight right onto the back straight then. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Again, I'm just excited to get in the thick of it and get involved and have some good battling somewhere on the field. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to next week.
Oh, that's brilliant to hear. And just before we let you go, Lee, is there anyone you'd like to say thank you to or give a shout out to on the broadcast this evening?
Well, you always I always feel a bit like I'm a bit on the spot, and then I actually don't know who to put a shout out to. So I'm just going to say hello to anyone and everyone that's watching. Thanks to yourselves for obviously the continued great broadcasts, and yeah, long may it all continue.
Oh, indeed, well, it's our pleasure to bring all the racing action on TV, but at the end of the day, it needs fantastic drivers, yourself included, to cause all that action, and you've delivered. And congratulations today on the winning race number 3, and I'm sure you'll be back fighting once again in a week's time. But until then, thank you for joining us in the commentary room.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
So hearing that from Lee Horne, Alex, very happy with that win in race number 3, but a difficult night.
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely wouldn't have been happy coming out of race 2 with that spin coming out of Cops Corner. But Sam Smith didn't race tonight. Good haul of points for Lee Horne tonight with that win in race 3. So you know, he's got to keep his head up, head into next week, get more points on the board. He's in a very good position to challenge for that top spot in the AM category. With drop rounds, just like what we were saying with the pro category, it could really mix it up in the AM category. So time will tell with that category, that's for certain. But yeah, before we head off, Paul, any final thoughts on tonight's racing?
Well, it was the case that it was nip and tuck all the way through, and in the end, I think it was race smarts and sensibility that saw the best from our very drivers. Indeed, our driver of the day embodied that sometimes it's not about having the best pace out of everyone, it's just about knowing when to back out and when to go for the move, and that is going to be a winning formula. I think that is going to be the formula for the rest of this season.
Certainly is indeed. Rightio, thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. We're nearly at 400 subscribers, by the way, on the YouTube channel, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please do give us a subscribe. We very much appreciate it indeed. It helps the series, it helps the channel, and it helps us to bring the entertainment to you. But if you have already subscribed, thank you very much for watching tonight's racing, whether you've been watching on Crest Autosport TV on YouTube and Twitch, or whether you've been watching on NXTGEN Racing on Facebook. I have been Alex Everett. of Crest Autosport, and alongside me, Paul Welsh, resident broadcaster of Next Gen Racing and TX141. Thank you very much for watching tonight's round 6 at Silverstone for the Next Gen Racing MX-5 Cup. We travel east to Norfolk and the Snetterton circuit. In 1 week from today, on the 20th of June, we'll see you there here on Next Gen Racing. Thank you for watching. Good night.